One lady. Adrian, are we live?
Yeah, we're recording, yes.
Okay, great. Please share my screen.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, before we start, I'd like to thank Mr. Howell for being here and Mr. Spears at 5. It's an earlier start time than we normally have. We have a couple special guests, Casey and Charlie Guide from C&J Environmental to go over our facilities committee meeting. We recognize the challenge of committees before the JOC meeting. We appreciate all of the board members who serve multiple nights meetings in their districts. And it's always difficult to try to find a way to also, just because there's only so many days per week. So what we're looking to do is find ways to perhaps meet during the day. Committees or whoever, if you're not on the committee, if you're available and interested to come in. Our ultimate goal is to develop a capital process, which we have a development of it that we started, Mr. Howell knows this, Mr. Spears, 2 years ago, to reorder, reprioritize that, and to just meet regularly and to get more input on that. So, Casey, I'll turn it over to you. Would you like, I have it up on my screen, or would you like to share it yourself?
I'll share it on my channel.
Okay.
Right. Stop sharing.
You want?
On my screen, all right, good evening, everybody. Those of you that don't remember me, I'm Casey Kohler, Program Director at Study Logic, who is your construction management and engineering firm. Alongside of me is Mr. Andy Cesare, who is our Director of Construction Administration, a very close partner of mine on the construction side of things, and just helping with a lot of projects, including a lot of the stuff that's occurring in Penn Ridge. So I'm just going to go over a couple of key updates tonight. One of the biggest pieces is just an update on the culinary arts expansion project. As everybody remembers, our PISA amendment was approved by the JOC on the 19th of June. That was a special meeting that was called. The upper bucks furnished equipment, so a lot of the new restaurant kitchen equipment was actually owner furnished because it leveraged some grant funding. That equipment was ordered and delivered within June because that was one of the requirements under. There we go. Thanks. So that was a requirement under the grant. So basically, Upper Bucks purchased that equipment directly. That way, it was compliant with the equipment grant process. The Site Logic furnished equipment. There was one combi oven and the walk-in cooler and refrigerator, along with the materials and supplies, have already been ordered pre-state. The general contractor in this case actually has a lot of these materials either already in hand or en route to being delivered. We're actually going to start staging some of those materials in the next week here in one of the spaces here. We're currently, as an active status where we are, we're currently working with Bedminster Township on the final permit release for the project. Comprehensive drawings were provided, third-party reviews were required. We completed all of those stages. Honestly, what we had hoped is what we do in a lot of other cases, which is called concurrent review, which allows us to get a demolition permit before we get the electrical, mechanical, and other permits. And that allows us to kind of continue to do a design build when we're not actually getting to that waterfall. So what we ended up having to do is pull back, make sure all of the plans are complete in totality, have them all reviewed by the third party review company, and then hand them back to Bedminster. So we're about midway through that process with Bedminster. They can take 30 days for review. What we know is that we've had so many engineers, so many architects look at this to make sure these things were 100%, which we wanted to avoid any known issues. So we're going to continue working with Bedminster to make sure if there are any issues brought up, we're going to respond very, very quickly. And all of our teams are pretty much on standby right now to try to make sure that this actually happens. Most importantly, and I think this is the really powerful part, as we were talking about during our ad hoc walkthrough just a couple minutes ago, the GC that's on site here and on this project is Walter Brucker and Sons. There's a lot of experience. They actually built this cafeteria expansion back in 2004. They're based out of Ottsville. They used to be in Dublin. They're very well known. They're also an ABC contracting company member, or an ABC group member. So they are well known in the area. They are very well aware of this project, and they have crews just staged, ready to kind of launch in the minute we have it. So quite literally every Thursday, I have a call with one of the owners, and we have a go, no go decision for that next week. So having that ability and not getting pushed to the end of the list, which happens with a lot of school projects that end up having delays, is monumental to making sure that this is going to keep moving forward. So here's kind of where the rest of the timeline breaks out, right? And we continue work as SiteLogic. We continue to work with all of you, the contractors, the administration, and more importantly, your instructors, to identify the priorities for the work, right? And making sure that we're still getting the work done on an adjusted schedule, because we are set back. And
I can't look.
Mike, are you sharing now, Mike, or?
Nope, I should have been. I was just trying to go through my security. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So the plans continue to focus on that limited impact instructional process. We just had another meeting today talking about phasing and staging and making sure that whatever we're doing, we're able to kind of leverage around the different dates. We know the students are coming back August 28th. We know they have some safety instruction that has to occur, kind of looking at that September 11th of when they're going to be actively changing and when they're actively using equipment. That's pretty normal in a tech school environment. So we have that date in mind. We're going to continue to push forward. Walter Brucker and Sons was here today working with all of us and the instructors and Don to really make sure that we're getting as much as we possibly can done before that, and that any of the dust or the dirty aspects are getting done, and then we can re-clean so that we're able to actually launch into this. Before I go over to the detailed timeline, one of the other pieces that came up during discussion, and it actually was in my presentation from June, was the item that was not included in the scope just because of the sequence of events and the scope itself and how it was advertised, was the modern full operable partitions to divide out the two sections of the cafeteria. I have a blueprint later and I'll show you. And basically what that is, and Mr. Hollowell will probably remember this because I remember this from 2004 when we removed it. There used to be an accordion door here. Used to actually be built with asbestos because that's what they used to make it with. And it became a big problem. But basically it's replacing that with an actual conference room style operable partition that's a hard wall, but it's also half white. So when you close those, what you do, both in the long section, you can almost look out and see, it divides this room into 3 usable spaces. So now you utilize what used to be a cafeteria, and you're making 3 distinct, different instructional spaces that actually have the luxury of having whiteboards on the entire wall. So when you start talking about collaborative design and design thinking and iterative design, when you're starting to work with some of your instructors, They now have that creative space that you could just break a classroom out of the normal class, bring them down here and start just drawing designs on the walls, which is definitely kind of top notch as far as instructional and space design right now.
So that was not, that cost was not originally included in the initial scope.
Correct. That was not in the Giza scope for the kitchen renovations. What
We're proceeding with that now?
it is an option to the board of whether you would go to proceed. So what we've done is we've done the homework for you. There were about 4 different ways that you could have procured them. The reality is, we worked some angles on the back end as far as resellers that are under CoStars, under state contract that allow you to buy this without having to bid, right? This is a pretty simple process of we issue a PO, you issue a PO to the vendor, they come out, they install it, they service it. Modern Fold is the biggest in the industry. I can tell you at least 6 different school districts that operate those partitions in their spaces right now. They are absolutely reliable. So what Dr. Herrera has as of this afternoon, working some different angles, is now a CoStars eligible quote, meaning it does not have to be bid out, that you use local funds to purchase that at $161,308, and that includes installation. The other thing to remember with the partitions is they are at a roughly an average of about a 30-week lead time, right? That is 30 weeks. If we started talking about switchgear, sir, we would be talking in the years aspect. I have a project in Montgomery County that we are waiting for switchgear, and we are estimating 26 months to get switchgear.
So
What's
this
that?
is not going to get any better.
No, so this
Some of
would
it,
be
no.
something that probably wouldn't be ready for this instructional year anyway. But if we wanted to get started on it, we'd almost have to, even for next year,
You gotta get.
order the parts this year.
Right.
Right, you gotta get them somewhere.
Yeah, so that's in your hands, right? That's in your administration's hands and the board and the JOC's hands as to whether you reallocate money that was already allocated. Otherwise, that's the process, right? But now we finalized easy to go quote under a CoStars contract using prevailing wage rate because it's over $25,000. Because luckily you can piggyback on our prevailing wage determination that we've already done for you as part of this other project, right? So that is kind of all in at 161,000.
Now, do we even have to piggyback off the Giza for this, or this would qualify itself as a Giza for the separation of the areas, or?
We could make it into a Giza, but there's, to be quite honest, the most cost effective for the school is to go through a CoStar process.
Okay.
Because it's a single prime contract, it's not even a single prime, it's a single vendor contract. They perform the manufacturing and the installation, it's kind of a no-brainer, single contract.
In June, when Casey presented the manifold operable provisions, presented as a potential amendment to the receipt list. That would have been, because it was in the original advertisement, would require another 10-day notice and another special meeting the day of the. It also would have required hooking up the operable provisions to the building automation system in June. That was mostly driven because the provider was not CoStar's registered, was not CoStar's approved. Bucks County, the Modern Fold, is operated out of Denver, New Jersey. The difference between June and here is that we were able to go find Modern Fold out of Reading, which this is not their territory, facilitate conversations between territories. Modern Fold already is CoStar. That's who the CoStar's contract that Dr. Herrera administration has. And we're able to pull the additional elective work, i.e. connecting it to the building automation system, picking up roughly about $8,000 difference versus June, because it's cheaper. And still, you still have the same 30-some week lead time, you're still getting Modern Fold. You still get all of the benefits with the Modern Fold system and Modern Fold service warranty. And then you don't have to, you notice with the public bidding, you don't have to add it to an amendment to the Guaranteed Energy Savings Act or an agreement. It's straight up between Modern Fold and CoStar.
Okay, so this building automation system too was supposed to be part of this current project here, right, to upgrade the building automation system?
It is, yes.
Yeah, so looking at your timeline, I don't see exactly when that falls into.
So, yeah, let me go through it and then we'll
Okay.
kind of talk through it. Okay, so any other questions on those bullets before we jump into the timeline? All right, so what this is the rough timeline, because we have to build in is some honesty and wiggle room, because some of this is out of our control, because we have inspections and re-inspections and then approvals, and more importantly, certificates of occupancy that have to be issued before we put students in these spaces. So even though we know the contractor can get it done and we know we can manage this entire process, sometimes we have to kind of wiggle a couple of days here and there, because we actually need a certificate of occupancy to put students and staff, right? And that CO is what turns insurance over from our responsibility back to the schools, right? So just very clear. So keeping that in mind. So where we're looking at in September now is worst case scenarios, we're gonna see a permit early September, September 1, September 4, somewhere around there. That would be the absolute long limit of Bedminster's 30-day notice, 30-day requirement. We're gonna obtain those final permits. As soon as that final permit is obtained, work immediately commences. As I mentioned before, Rucker is actually staging some of their materials on site. They've already had they have crews kind of standing by. It's important for you to know that this is not just a problem here in Bedminster. This is a problem that's really happening across the state. Namely because work schedules and work from home schedules are very different. Townships are not processing permits. It's definitely not a Bedminster issue, Bedminster Township issue. Rucker actually has 4 projects right now ongoing. All 4 are frozen on township permit approvals. So it's happening all over the area, and for a number of reasons, right? To be quite honest, townships are overworked, right? They've had to be reacting very quickly to the development cycles that have been happening, and we're in a housing boom. So they're trying to reel back and trying to figure out what's going on. So we're working with them closely. As soon as those permits are issued, that will trigger our work commencement. We're going to start all of that general construction to get that done. The goal is that by October, all of that completion of the instructional spaces and the associated items is substantial approval or substantial completion of those spaces specifically is completed. Then by November, that walk-in refrigerator and freezer, which should be on site probably mid-September right now, but we still have a pad, we have inspections, we have a lot of things that have to go with that. As Mr. Hollowell said, there's also some site work that is built into this, right? That the current walk-in was built actually at a defilade, so all the water just runs into that space. And so we're actually building drainage into this so that it's picking up that groundwater and then taking it out to an existing drain field out back. So there's some additional work that kind of has to happen with that. So by November, that walk-in refrigerator and freezer will be commissioned and then ready for production use, because there is a part that with the Department of Health that we have to get them to then sign off when everybody else signs it, right? It's a couple of different pieces moving into this. December 2023 would be that substantial completion of the whole renovation project and the building management system to your question. Okay. So what we're breaking this up into is basically 3 major chunks of this project: culinary arts renovation part, the building automation or building management system, and then the HVAC piece. And that leads me to the next one, which is spring of 2024, because we just got done talking about long lead times and supply chains. We are looking at a substantial difference or a substantial delay in obtaining the HVAC. We're replacing 2 RTUs within the project. Those RTUs are scoped for months out right now. So we are continuing to work with different manufacturers. Trane has the best lead on it right now. So we're working with engineers and looking at submittals. So the substantial completion of the HVAC piece of this project is forecasted for spring of 2024. Clearly, as we get more word on that and more information, we're going to continue to update, especially facilities committee, on the status of that. Right now, that's the soft target is spring of 2024, which is okay because we can get these through the heating season, and we will continue to help John and his staff make sure that these things are running. to get us through into the spring, and the hopes is that they're totally replaced before their irrigation season restarts. That makes sense.
It's just showing there's.
Yeah.
I did notice,
It's nothing to do with me, but I'll just do this.
at my facility up in Coopersburg, we're actually building a freezer and a walk-in freezer and cooler right now. Like 12,000 square feet,
Wow.
pretty big.
Yeah.
And, we ended up, sourcing our stuff through Trenton for the freezer equipment, and we had no lead time, came in right away.
Yeah.
And we ordered it, right?
It's weird how some items are so readily available. The walk-in cooler is 2 to 3 weeks out and it's custom built,
Yeah,
right? But yet an air conditioner and a rooftop unit that uses most of the same mechanical parts is 6 months out, right? And it's just about different manufacturers and where they're manufacturing and where all their supply chain is. It's very odd, right? And maybe, I can sit there and quote 14 other projects that we're working on, and it's just bizarre.
now,
There
our
some
hands
days
aren't
that
tied
things get
because of
really bad.
pizza or anything like that, it's just.
It's just the supply chain, right? And like I said, if this was an electrical project, we'd be sweating a whole lot more. We have a project in Montgomery County at a school entity that where we have to use temporary switchgear because the switchgear is about 26 months out. And that is major equipment that goes outside, pad mount switchgear, it's 26 months to manufacture. It's bizarre. We've heard generators. Generators are out anywhere between 6 and 18 months, depending on what you're looking at. Yeah, well over a year on average, right? So a lot of this has changed, and this is a good discussion, which gets back to what Dr. Harrell was saying at the beginning. What we have to remember is, especially in school entities where you're not paying top dollar, because the reality is you're paying absolute market price, they tend to get their stuff pretty quick. But when you're paying in the government entity kind of structure, we have to remember that we have to start getting approvals for projects and lead times built into it so that we're pre-staging equipment ahead of time. For instance, if we're looking at doing a generator project here in July, that we talked about a little bit, really need to start getting those orders in by December so that you have a fighting chance to get that done next summer. Right, because you have a 6 to 7 month waiting period. Right, so that's the way it used to be with general contracting. You really need to get all of your major construction scheduled. Now it's more about parts than anything. So.
On generators particularly, you get into the point of Buy American, some of the other statutes. And they have premiums associated with them to the point where they only come out at certain fabrication points in those specific manufacturers.
Yeah, there is some, I'm actually looking at a generator too, at my facility, 500 kVA, they're big. I can get the exact same generator, same manufacturer, if I get it shipped from China right away.
Yep.
For almost half the price. It's crazy though, that I can buy, an American made, American company generator, it's already built into like a shipping thing.
Right.
Shipped from China here quicker than I can get it from the manufacturing facility here to my place. It makes absolutely no sense how that works, but.
You have to Buy American, you have the piece of steel or it all plays into some of those materials that then exclude China and other sourcing locations.
And then federal grants also play into that as well. So you have to be careful. Doesn't apply to this, but the short and the skinny of that is really, you gotta start really planning ahead, especially on some of these parts, right? Luckily, you guys had your switchgear replaced back in the major renovation, but there are specific items in the renovation projects we're advising all clients. You need a long runway to get this moved, right? Especially when you're looking at a 500 kVA generator, they are very difficult to source right now.
I don't know what size you're looking at here.
It's probably about a 250 at this point. It's a 175 right now.
I got a 175. I'll be looking for it. So donate it to you guys. It's from 1980.
Yeah,
It's
if only it worked like that, right?
You could
You
actually.
didn't know
Gotta switch on. I think,
rewiring the
yeah,
panels.
it's a lot.
And I might have a way for you to save some dollars.
Oh, I'll be talking to you later.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so this kind of goes over, this map kind of explains a little bit, so you just pay attention to your screens or the big screen or this also your confidence monitor you have here. We'll be able to kind of show you. The red marks are identifying those priority one areas. Those are the areas that we have to make sure that between all of the different work in textual and site logic has to complete, that those are the areas to make sure that we can actually start students working on that equipment within that May or that September 11th kind of date, right? As we discussed earlier. So you'll see a couple of red marks. One's right here, which is one of the old kitchen areas. And then this is the existing serving line or kitchen line for the restaurant kitchen. Those two are the priorities by far, to make sure that everything and all that new equipment is hooked up and it's ready to go by the time the students need to function.
This is also what the instructors in case you walk through.
They are not walls. Yeah, they're just highlighted areas. The other ones are actually highlighted. That's correct. It's equipment against the wall. Yes. Thank you for that.
And this is also what Casey had walked with Walker Brother.
Legally,
And
the
all of
purpose
that
of
is
screen by
confirmed.
using a laser pointer.
What they need for the first day instructional, but we're all lined up.
I'd like to thank Larry and Amber, who have been fabulous coming in today, to make sure, hey Larry. Yeah. Really, because and the collaboration between the logic, Don, and the instructors, it has to be really tight. With the ongoing process.
Unlike normal high schools, you really need instructional staff to be a part of this. And that's-
Just to reiterate, after our meeting.
Into that one next time.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Instruction is a top priority. The reason we're doing this is we have an extra 40 students in culinary. Don, through donation, the tables here in the corner were all donated, which we appreciated. What was it, Stitch Company? Stitch Fix.
Yeah, Stitch Fix, we'll have to be sure to include that in the next update.
Yeah, we accepted the donation, and that's the most important thing.
And that's an important piece because up in the top left-hand corner, as you'll see, that's temporary instructional space. So because we can't have the students in what used to be the old serving area just yet, because that's still in construction zone, what we're able to do is leverage some of that extra space we have now and kind of demonstrate how these partitions would work. By having this instructional space off to the left, you're now actually utilizing that for your instructional space for the additional culinary students. And you're able to kind of work around this, and they have a pathway into that kitchen area that's existing through the cafeteria. So they're not gonna have to be transiting through active construction zones or anything else.
Focus on instruction, like down to changing and modifications of curriculum, et cetera. And we don't believe that there'll be any drafts, et cetera. And we thank the instructors for ensuring that. So, if we approve the partition, we get them in soon.
Partitions, if you approve the purchase for the textile, you guys would be issuing, the textile would be issuing the PO2 modern bulb through CoStarz.
But Mr. Sherman made a good point, that to find the month that before we got here, we don't have that budgeted full disclosure.
Right.
Asking, make sure that.
I thought we would put the infrastructure in for that partition. As part of the construction, part of the.
Yeah, we did. We said last meeting. So we were gonna,
Yeah, the June 19th or June 16th meeting, we discussed partitions were not in the scope, that it was to be determined and approved at a future point. We had discussed it being a visa amendment at 168,000.
well, no, I think the direction was that you guys were going to put out an RFP to find out what the cost would be. And so when we had our agenda setting meeting last week, I was surprised to hear that it had never gone out for an RFP and we didn't have any of that pricing back.
We had a hard price at June. The hiccup there was the legality of.
Right, it was supposed to be posted for the 10 days, so that was all supposed to
That
happen
was the
for the
timing issue.
meeting.
We didn't have the hard price for the first 10-day notice that would support the technical award to the GISA in June. But the price was known, and I thought really looking through the minutes and the video and watching that, that the decision seemed to be a consensus of, yeah, we want it, go forth and get it. But we couldn't go with it technically until an amendment was issued. For the ones that just came in, what we were explaining was the difference between June and now is that we were able to identify that the vendor for the modern pole territory in Bucks County is covered out of New Jersey. And in order for us to engage them, they are not CoStar's approved. The modern pole out of New Jersey for which Bucks County is their territory. So in order to pick it up in the guaranteed energy savings agreement, we would have had to add integral building automation controls to the operable partitions in order to make Energy Act eligible. That's what was part of a 169 and change number in June. Since then, we were able to facilitate a conversation between the modern pole New Jersey and the modern pole in Reading, PA. Reading, PA is CoStar approved. And so by doing that, we're able to drop the building automation controls and also drop the purchasing to the state. And it's netting about a savings of about 7,500, 8,000 difference in favor of the tech school. And we don't have to do, or the school won't have to do the building automation integration. You already got the building automation for all of the kitchen improvements. That's part of us. We're good. We're taking care of that in the timeline the cases are addressed. But as it relates to the applicable partitions, this particular vehicle, the administration was given the CoStar's contract number. So all at this point, you don't need to do the 10-day, you don't need to go out for a public bid, you don't have to advertise. You could literally tell or authorize the administration at the next JOC meeting to go into that contract, whether it went through us in June or whether it went through CoStar's, still a 30-week on average lead time. You're still looking at the optimal conditions not being available until the next academic year. So at that point, the timing for the actual use is about the same. It's just a matter of how to the contract in the form, and today you can authorize that. So,
I think we should move forward and do that since it is such a long lead time, so that we can make sure that we
We
get
have to
it.
figure out how you're gonna get the money. It's not budgeted.
So-
It's 30 weeks, we're not gonna have you this year anything.
Yeah, but
It's
we
not
wait,
budgeted.
we wait until next
It's
budget to
not
do it.
budgeted. You can budget it, but you can't move forward unless it's budgeted. You can't put it on the agenda.
So we talked about moving forward with it last meeting.
Maybe you did, I didn't. But, you know,
We-
if it's not the budget, we can't spend. And that's one of the things that we're gonna make sure that it's codified with the part of the agreement.
Well, how can you make sure of that?
Well,
Let us be
it's not budgeted, we can't just throw a line item in and pay for it. So we can discuss it, but you can have consensus, but you know, it's but right now, what your takeaway, and I built it back. Takeaway is, we're right with permits. We're not gonna have it for the start of school. And we know that there's $161,000 more that we have to belly up the table with. So we're over schedule and over budget.
We're not over budget. This is a separate project.
Okay, so we're saying, we just want to fill in that. You know, that's my takeaway. Sorry to be so direct, but that's the fact of the matter. And yeah, whether whose fault it is doesn't really matter. I believe when you set you up for failure, but that's okay. You know,
Yeah, the part about being over budget, it is definitely not over budget because we're in the budget of Giza, but I understand your point that it's still not budgeted. So two separate issues that really isn't our
no,
discussion to facilitate. Yeah, you're
I'm
fine.
just making that statement of fact.
Fully understood, so. All right, so just continuing on so we stay on track here, the yellow areas are,
Just hold on. So Larry, are you comfortable with the plan? Do you have any concerns?
We talked in, but Amber and I met with everybody this morning and hashed out where we're at and what needs to get done, and based on what we discussed, we're more comfortable after the meeting. Okay, first of all,
Okay,
And a lot of that's based on, especially these yellow areas and working with your general contractor to make sure that we're prioritizing these spaces. So the minute we have permitting, we can construct this and we can keep going. All of these yellow areas, a lot of these are walls in this case, Mr. Howell, are a priority. So the number one priority is what used to be the gate right here, and constructing that stud drywall wall. So that we're actually creating a dust barrier from the rest of the cafeteria. So as your students are using them temporary instructional space, they're not kind of getting involved in the rest of the construction. Getting the old refrigerator and freezer demolished and then building out this wall. And again, the key with all of this is we have to go through wall inspections at different various stages. So what we're actually doing is we're actually trying to make sure that the finished side is facing where we need it to be finished first. So, and I'll give you a for instance, on this wall, that finished side is on this side. So to everybody walking by, it's going to be looking just the same. It's actually the other side of the wall that's going to remain open for inspection. And that's just a trick we can do as far as construction management and working with the GC to really make sure that we're still meeting the requirements under the permit, but we're still making it a safe, usable space. It really comes into play when we're talking about this wall right here, because that wall has an FRP finish on it, which is a cleanable surface, which you need that up in order to operate the rest of that kitchen. So that's another priority, is getting those walls constructed where the windows used to be, getting the FRP sheeting on, so that way it's now a Board of Health approved surface that you can wash and sanitize. Those are the kind of requirements that we have to continue to work through. Then continuing this wall, which is separating the rest of the kitchen from this space, again, now inversed. Really the focus is on making sure the FRP is on that side and we can use that space, right? Allowing us to actually get through that process and continue the final pieces back in this office area, really practically for it to get through those spaces without creating a ton of dust.
So the reds basically within the structural bay.
Right. And again, you know, your GC has committed to doing everything and anything we can get done. So the faster we can get these permits, the faster we can get through all these issues. So yes, we are definitely over schedule. A lot of factors went into that, but we're doing everything we can to help mitigate that and working with instructors to create a feasible plan.
You also talked about, which is very important, the relationship with the township. Everyone, you understand the pressure that they're under, so we're also thinking strategic long term to develop and maintain great relationship with them. So that's very, very important, because I know that you wanted to maintain that without the pressure. You understand working from home, COVID, they're back up. And we appreciate Larry and instructors understanding that to have a plan for the balance, right? We could take a foot, but it comes with the thought that we didn't really want to do that.
You have a lot of projects you're going to have to get completed in that. So right now, it is in everybody's best interest to work with other elected officials and other boards and other township supervisors, just work together within it, collaboratively, rather than, you know, pulling more politics and more pressure.
I'm not sure I'm following you. Are you saying, I feel like I hear you saying that there's like politics involved with the backup.
There is not. Now, I'm actually saying the inverse. I would say let's not involve politics into the process and let the process kind of work itself out.
But what politics did you guys? I mean, it's just, why are the permits being held up? You're just saying they're backed up. You're just saying they're backed up because they have a lot of.
Process, right? The reason they didn't want to do concurrent review, which is what has happened in other townships, is they want all of the permit sets in one full set. That's what we discussed at the beginning. When you have a full set, that delays the process, because we would have applied for the demolition permit on July 1st to get the demo permit to start the demo crews immediately while we're finalizing the electrical, the mechanical, and the plumbing drawings, which is what we've done in lots of other projects. That makes there does not.
I guess my impression was that we had all those drawings ready to go anyway, so.
Not to a final permit set. So what we had is we have drawings and we have design drawings, but when you get to a sealed drawing for a permit set, they're at a way more granular. So
the reason we don't have a permit yet is because the drawings weren't completed yet for them to be able to give us permits, because we needed to submit all of that. That's the reason we don't have permits yet. Really, it's on us, not the township. What?
Township typically only use once a month.
Right.
Yeah, so if you miss a day, you're not behind.
So the other,
Leverage some supervisor, but that's what he's talking about.
that's
good to be smart. Yeah, but what I like to do. But that's their job. Their job is to get it done. Yeah, maybe, but I'm gonna be really succinct about this. You had a mission, we handed it off to you, get her done, it's not done. What are you doing for us? If they'd have known then, what they know now, they would have told us if they could get it done. If I had a little ball and did it eight, and then you said, and they respond. That's the area.
So the other two marks on this drawing are where those operable partitions would be installed. You see these dash lines right there, those would actually be this, your high wall, which is about 30 feet, that one's about 16. So there's a high and a low wall, that combined is what the two operable partitions are. So now we talk about kind of the next process, right? We alluded to some of this before. There's been a 5-year plan for years here, 5 and a 10-year plan of capital improvements that will continue to happen to maintain this building and the function of this building. The 3 or 4 major areas that were listed in the original amendment 2, one of which is at the bottom, we literally just talked to, which is the operable partitions in the cafeteria. The other 3 out of that list, the 3 priorities, are your generator replacement at the main building, which happens to just be right there. So it's easy to point out. Barn upgrades and maintenance. There's been a very big push, understandably, bring a large animal program back into animal sciences here. The barn has not been clearly maintained to that level. So working with your instructors and your occupational advisory committees to determine what needs to occur as far as scope, as far as being farm maintenance or any upgrades to fencing or anything else. That's on that priority list, as well as any additional roof repairs and replacement. You have an aging annex roof that is out of warranty, and you have a couple other areas that may need to be addressed. So what we're doing for you as your PISA contract holder is we're working with your administration, Don, and this facilities committee over the next couple of months to make sure that we're staying on budget. So Mr. Karnak, to kind of get back to how we got here from April when we took this other project on, this timeline is going to help make sure that we're avoiding any unknowns as we go through the process and any miscommunication or misunderstanding from the facilities committee aspect. So as you see, we're here in August. That first bullet is August.
Well, right, but this is the revised timeline.
Now this is
So
for
the timeline
amendment.
would have looked different.
This is for amendment 2.
In
Sorry.
May,
This
right.
is amendment 2, which is new projects. This is not for the old projects, right? The other timeline showed what we're projecting for the kitchen renovation project. This is amendment 2, which is all of your additions, right? This is your generator replacement, your barn repairs, maintenance, and your roof repair. Okay. This is what a typical timeline would look from us because it gives us enough time to get through the process and keep you all communicated. We're having this initial discussion in August. In September, we start to meet with our engineering and our architectural firms, and working with your administration, working with your occupational advisory committee members and your instructors, especially for the barn renovation project, because they're the ones that have to see what needs to happen in those instructional spaces. And then again, you're going to see a common thread through this. Every single one of those months, we're reporting back to the facilities committee so that those that are on the facilities committee are aware of what's going to continue to occur with the waterfall event in December of the full JOC approving that project. Okay. So as you can see, we continue to work through September, we're working through all of the kind of the design elements of it. October, we're actually getting to a point where we're working with this architectural and engineering firms on that kind of conceptual design and getting those rough orders of magnitude numbers and working with your contractors to get more appropriate numbers so that we can prepare you for the 10-day notice to be issued at some point in November. That 10-day notice is gonna have to be issued in November, then we get final pricing back from qualified vendors and contractors. Then we're able to give you that final visa amendment 2 to capture those items up top, sums, the operable partitions, depending on what happens with that. So that we can get a full board approval, JOC approval in this case, in December. The reason why this would be, even though your budget is so that you have that hard number for your budgeting process, so you know exactly how much you need to have in your capital projects. If you wait until July to do this, back to our discussion, you're not going to be doing it until the following year. You're going to be catching up. So this is what we're doing with a number of districts to help them, especially CPCs, to help them get ahead of the budgeting curve. So you will approve and fundamentally, conceptually, you would be approving the visa amendment and allowing us to start contracting out with the contractors and equipment manufacturers to start pre-staging and ordering equipment. You make sure that money is then in your budget for the following fiscal year of capital projects. And July 1 comes, final bullet, and construction commences. Hopefully with some of or a lot of this equipment already staged off-site or here, ready to start implementing because we didn't wait until July. Does that make sense? So trying to help kind of reshuffle this back around so that Facilities Committee is in full awareness of what's happening and you're ahead of that budgeting curve rather than being behind, right? Does that make sense? Okay. I'll leave it on that slide if there's any questions on that specifically. Any questions?
Slide presentation, can we get a copy of it?
Yes, sir. Dr. Herrera already has a copy of it.
Because we didn't get any advanced copies.
Right.
Which I think the facilities.
Yeah, I would have, yeah.
We should get an advanced copy of this, so you can at least have 24 hours to look at it and present. At least a chairperson.
Understood, and with our future, I think this one, a lot of that was actually changing within the past 15 minutes, let alone 15 days. Hearing you loud and clear, all of the future JOC facility subcommittee meeting, when we give you a presentation, we'll give you 24 hours, at least 24 hours. Yeah, I get it.
He knows what we're doing there.
I got it, yeah.
And that's why I'm asking this, sorry, the administration email directly to.
So we'll get the list from Dr. Rare and then we can consolidate that. So this one is kind of an oddity, but I hear you loud and clear. Future ones, we'll make sure you guys get ahead of time.
If I can jump back to the Formax, comment about the timeline. Wanted to do a quick comparison to on the culinary expansion. What was assumed by SiteLogic in timing was that we would be the pricing set. This is where a lot of the expedited and advantages of the saving that for the tech school and other public agencies. We're able to go get pricing off of a non-permit or non-fully designed set of documents and compare that using scope of work, and so forth, compare a full package. We can then also go get permits with not all of the design complete. In this particular case, we assumed that we weren't going to need electrical and plumbing on day one. This is going to be demolition, the building. And that those submissions, particularly specifically electrical, which this is performed by a third party in Pennsylvania, not by the actual townships. We typically submit both of those soon or concurrently, the township and third party electric. But through us and caught us off guard, that's on us, and we're paying the price literally for these the dominoes as a result of this. Is that Bedminster required the electrical review by the third party to be performed not concurrently, but fully and approved prior to them even receiving the permit application. That pushes us up 30 days, right? And then if that was on us, we should have done further homework and assuming that they were gonna be like a majority of the townships. That's where we messed up. But that also allowed us to continue the design. Had the tech school not elected to go down the Energy Savings Act method of procurement on this project, tonight would be the night that you likely would have been authorizing public, going out to public bid. You wouldn't have a hard price, you wouldn't have a firm price, and you certainly wouldn't have had anything more than the equipment that you purchased in June. So we're still ahead compared to the public bid procurement process. While we're not at where we essentially promised, we far falling short of our promises. They're not impacting the educational experience for day one. And they're also not delaying the end of project date. The HVAC is not gonna be done until spring regardless. That's not affected. Building management system is not affected. So it's this September, October timeframe where that impact of our bad decision, our bad assumption for the summer.
So thank you very much. We have some other topics, but I'd like to thank the JOC for getting Don help during the summer. It was well deserved, well needed. Don's done an unbelievable job in his crew getting the school ready. And we also have Charlie Guy here today, who's done the cleaning has been incredible. The Freddie helping Don has been very, very productive. Charlie, we're looking at maybe next Friday to do some more wax, but we really think we talked about vendor relationships. We communicate 3, 4, 5 times a week. We appreciate your guidance and everything you've done here. I don't know if you want to say anything.
No, I just, thank you very much, very kind. My son goes to school here. I'm here. You people are wonderful. I mean, it's where did this? As I say the wrong way. I sometimes get emotional about it, but, Crawford, this Mr. Crawford. Unbelievable. And he's paid my son, I mean. But that's what a bunch of, this is what this guy's done. That's why I'm here. I even got to respect. Like, and thank you for everything. I really truly do.
Have you been able to procure all the wax? I remember you said you had a tough time earlier.
It's another, you got supply chain issues. Yeah, our stuff comes from National Chemical off.
Yeah.
And they just don't, I think they're gonna steal it.
Well, that's what I was just gonna ask is, I don't know if you could reach out to, maybe the other sending district, see if they had a little extra. Cause they may be finishing up their waxing
Well,
projects.
we just got 500 gallons in Monday.
Yeah,
Last Monday. So we're fine, but we're going through it like, we're just not here, other stuff like we put the same ordinance for all the buildings that I can go, that we can go.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and we just gotta work through it.
On the agenda for tonight is an opportunity for us to work 4 days, 10 hours next week, and it's for 2 reasons. One is so Charlie could even do another wax on that Friday, and Adrian has the network's going to be down. Adrian, do you want to just explain that?
Well, so the switches came in, they were configured, and we just gotta pretty much unplug and plug everything back in. So Friday is the best day to do it because not a lot of traffic. So once we pull out the MDF, the entire network goes black. Then once we, so.
I have no problem doing it anyway. Just to get it ready. If you jammed up on Friday, I'll do Saturday, Sunday. Cause I want to get it ready to go.
I don't mind giving you, a 4-day week again, one more. So,
Yeah, well, thank you for your consideration. Thank you for Freddie. It's really, really helped. Don, I can't say enough, even on your vacation, you're just coming in, your dedication. You take it very, very personal, the job. We talked about that and you just have so much fun with the expectations. And it looks beautiful and we're very lucky to have you. Thank you.
yes, thank you, Don.
Okay, if you just came in, we have some, not our usual restaurant, but we have some food and some water for you. Please get that. We have a full packed agenda tonight. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Andy. You up and say, hi, Mr. Linden. We
You
want
don't
to,
have to stay.
we want to get back on track. You don't, I don't believe that's.
Next few hours to go, today's stay.
Casey's ready to go. He got one foot out the door.
Unfortunately, we're told.
I have to get the uniform daughter down to go to her very base for us, like.
Okay.
Thank you, Casey, and thank you, Larry, for, being so cooperative and appreciate it. So we want to get back on track. If you remember, when we started policies about a year and a half ago, we've done about 125 of that. During the last couple of months with committees, it's so difficult to get in. Your schedules are so busy as board members for the different districts. We talked about maybe having the facilities and anyone who's interested in coming in during the day, because there's only so much time.
What's
We
that?
appreciate you as being public servant. The amount of time that you put in is just beyond imagines. Tracy spent the summer organizing a document with the rest of the policies. We're skipping right now temporarily, with the exception, there was a request for procurement in the 600 series, which we could start with. And then move forward, and we're gonna skip the finance section, but we're gonna move forward to get the rest of the policy looked at, reviewed, and adopted. Making improvements, we did provide hard copies for everyone in the packet, and I think it's going to be able to be helpful. If you open the packet, on the second page, there's some written policies that you can also follow around with, besides me putting it online. Take them with you next, because first committee, it's just like a first review. And then we'll kind of look at it, we'll discuss it, we'll take your recommendations, we'll go back. Once again, Tracy, thank you for putting this together. One of the things that we want to look at, and Tanya, I believe, is joining us. She's taking her daughter back to school. And the reason why she's not here tonight is the procurement card. And that policy, the first one, is number 625.
Mike, I have to ask you real quick, Tracy, the highlighted or the bold versions of the change, is the change language?
Yes,
on these?
yeah.
Okay,
625 is a brand new policy. We work with PSBA. And then we look at that. So the first one is 625. And then tonight, we wanted to look at the 702 gift grants donations. We wanted to look at sanitary management. As you know, 700 is facilities. And then for maintenance. And finally, facilities and workplace safety. So these are kind of first review, taking a look at it, getting us back on track to get a lot of them done. Stacy has done some work on the 200, just, I think, Mr. Hallowell and Casey had a conversation about the time on policy committees. As soon as you're done, new ones come up. And so we're gonna Stacy's done some work with the 200s, which we appreciate. We'll start that back up. And one of the things that we look to do, and if I could draw your attention to the screen is, and it goes along with the policies, was this summer I put together with OSHA Health, and that goes along with one of the policies, a hazard communication program. It's a draft. Safety for our staff is very, very important. Don and his department is looking to get everyone OSHA certified. We're using it like with our students. That's very important. OSHA even has kind of approved this. And because we have a Mr. A. Cup who co-chaired the safety committee, we've asked Mrs. Reinheimer, who's our school nurse, to take on the safety committee. So with the tech school, we don't wait for policies. We want to make sure that we're cutting edge because existing, we have the new safety, and we'll present this to the committee along with the policy this summer, which is new. We have safety committee bylaws, committee review, etc. Because it's very important. So I want you to know while we're developing policy regs We're also creating these different structures. And I'll give you some time now, if you hadn't had a chance. This is just for committee review up until maybe 7:05. I will tonight send the rest of the policies in this document, which we've been sharing with the committee, with list of policy, the new language, the deletion notes with everyone, just like Casey's presentation. So you have it to review well in advance. And we're not asking you tonight to make anything in the form of like the review to get back on track. And while you get this, if you have any policies that you would like to prioritize, please just share with us. It's a policy as a whole and as a committee, and we will work with you to make sure that they're updated, etc. Any questions on this? So in the future, we'll identify. Please take a look at 4 or 5 policies in advance. You'll look at it. It'll go to committee. Review, and then for first reading and second reading for adopt.
So this is not the first read, like next time we meet, it won't be the second read, it'll be
Yeah.
another first read.
Yeah, it'll be a committee meeting.
Okay, fine.
Just because again, we ran out of time, like we had 45 minutes, we could kind of look and, but for time purposes. And for being sensitive to your time, we'll send that out ahead of time. And if we could all agree, next time we'll come back and I will send that up to you ahead of time. I'll take that for review. Okay, going back, switching, does anyone have any questions on policies, program? With us tonight is, we have a calendar. But I also wanted to present a new program that we want you to consider. Chelsea, are you online now, Rivera? Maybe on mute,
No. He's not blocking.
so while Adrian is trying to get Chelsea on review, one of the areas that we really want to focus on is building a pipeline of future workforce candidates. And Adrian, are you working trying to get Chelsea online?
Her mic's not moving. If she's talking, it's not mic is not moving.
Better by chance.
Yes, which will be a new program,
I heard it.
that's for the students involved. Chelsea, I
Is
think
it
I heard
better
you.
by chance?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Sorry about that. My headset wasn't working, so I'll have to figure that out another time. Thanks, Mike, so much for bringing me on board today. Thank you for giving me a little bit of time to be able to speak. I suppose if we could jump into the slideshow, would that be okay?
Yes, just say please next and I'll control it, Chelsea.
That sounds good, yep. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about TABE and a potential pilot at UBCTS, specifically to be able to build a pipeline of future workforce candidates. My name is Chelsea Rivera. I am the local DRC representative, so I will be the one supporting this pilot should it go through, but this is my contact information. If, we will have time for some Q&A, but if after today you need to take a little bit of time to think and then want to reach out to me for any questions, this is my contact information for you to be able to do so. So we're going to do a high-level overview. The first thing is just why it is that we sought out UBCTS for TABE and specifically the TABE Workforce Pilot. We're then going to discuss the goals for it, what TABE is, what the TABE Workforce Portal is, and then talking about the scope or steps of the pilot implementation. There will be some time at the end for Q&A. Okay, and so about a month ago, DRC, we actually ended up going to a roundtable with Governor Shapiro and his office There were also some companies, some unions from around the Commonwealth that were there. And they expressed, especially as a follow-up from the executive order that was laid out earlier this year, where college for 92% of jobs, a 2 or 4 year degree is no longer a requirement. And so what they had expressed was a need to be able to build a pipeline of workers. And they specifically had highlighted the great work that's being done in Bucks County, both at the Career Tech School, also within K-12 districts. And they also had shouted out that the chief of staff actually ended up visiting UBCTS from Governor Shapiro's office. And Mike and I had already been in off and on contact. He had shared with me his interest and his background in academic integration. He specifically had ended up doing, I believe it was a dissertation on the importance of Lexiles for CTE programs. And so after this roundtable discussion, because Mike and I were already in contact, I approached him with being able to do a free pilot for TABE in the TABE Workforce Portal. And he had mentioned that specifically UBCTS doesn't always get the data that's needed from students. And he said that when data is received, specifically thinking of the keystones, students' reading, language, and math scores have been a little low. And so what is it that can be done to be able to ensure that students are academically not only skill ready, but also academically prepared for the workforce? So at that roundtable discussion, Governor Shapiro, they ended up highlighting that there was a specific need for certain careers. These are the ones that you'll see down below: hospitality, hotel industry, construction, roadways, and then health and science, and specifically with regards to nursing. Next slide, please. And so the reason why I ended up approaching him, these are the 4 goals that we have. First was to be able to build interest in in-demand careers across Bucks County and to be able to allow for early career exploration. And when we talk about the scope briefly, I'll talk about what that early component means. Also to be able to ensure students are academically prepared to join the workforce, to be able to again build a pipeline of next generation workers for in-demand careers, identifying qualified candidates for internships, pre-apprenticeships in the workforce. And with the companies that were at that roundtable, some of the construction specifically, they had mentioned that right now the majority of their workers are about 50 years of age, and so they're going to be retiring soon, and they need people to be able to replace those current workers that they have, people that not only have the skills, but that also have the academic skills, you know, to be able to add fractions, for example, math, reading, language, to be able to be academically qualified as well. The 4th goal is to be able to generate a white paper on the value of using TABE and the TABE Workforce Portal to indicate academic career readiness. So with that, we'll transition into what TABE is. So TABE, historically, TABE has been used with adult-based education. However, this past January, we ended up going live with our workforce portal. And so TABE, we have 2 versions of the assessment. There's TABE 11 that serves as a pre-test, and then there's TABE 12 that has different question items that would serve as a post-test to be able to track and measure growth. Everything is hosted within the DRC Insight portal, so PSSAs, Keystones, even English language learners that may take the WIDA Access Assessment, the CDTs. Students are well familiar with how to be able to navigate that interface, but everything is hosted within the DRC Insight portal for test administration. We are federally approved through June 30th of 2024, and we have actually already submitted for extending this. Our TABE 1314 to be federally approved as well. But we are federally approved through June 30th, 2024 for reading, math, and language. And we have 5 content levels. So the lowest level is L, which stands for literacy. This really refers to, if you have ESL students, they're getting a grasp on the English language, they would typically start off with a level L. E stands for easy. I've bolded here levels M and D because with the careers, specifically for the program at UBCTS, students would be tested at level M, potentially a level D. M standing for medium, D standing for difficult, and then A would be advanced. A, however, is more so that college level of college and career readiness standards. So that's again why I've bolded M and D. So we're aligned to college career readiness standards. With the TABE workforce portal, we are now aligned to the Department of Labor's ONET Bright Outlook careers. And this is where we measure skills that students need to be able to lead productive lives and succeed in the workforce. So there are 3 content areas that we've highlighted in discussions that I've had with Mike. We've talked about, if this goes forward, definitely doing TABE reading, definitely doing TABE math, potentially adding in TABE language, but that's, something that we'll add on if desired. TABE reading will focus on content that reflects real world life and work related situations and skills, from word meaning to critical thinking. For math, this is for math application, routine tasks like estimating quantities, making computations involving time, distance, weight, statistics, equations. And then language really instead refers to the communication skills, vocabulary, language acquisition for functioning effectively. And so with the TABE workforce portal, what you see here, that first item up at the top, this is taken from within the DRC Insight portal, and one of those careers that was called out at the roundtable discussion was with Governor Shapiro was carpentry. And so as well as construction, there were a number of items, but for carpentry, what you see in that red box for that first item, it says mathematics. And so the target score for math in order for an individual to be considered career ready is a 560. So that's that number that you see in gray. Now, this demo student, they ended up scoring a 475. This is not an end all be all, right? This is just that quantitative data piece. And so here, this is where we would have one-on-one conversations with individuals saying, this is the career that you're interested in pursuing. This is currently where you are at. So this is that's that visual graphic. On the teacher standpoint, you not only have access to that nice visual up at the top, but you also would have access to what is called the individual profile report. So again, I had mentioned pre-testing. We want to ensure that we are supporting growth. And so with mathematics, areas for next focus, that second red box that you see at the bottom, this individual needs support with expressing repeated addition of unit fractions as multiplication expressions, to use visual representation to show division of whole numbers, to solve simple one-step real-world problems. And so essentially what this data piece would do is give that learner prescriptive that the teachers would be able to apply. Not only are they getting that one-on-one experience, within the field through their program, but it's also sharing where it is that the individuals need specific support in order to be considered academically ready. And you might be thinking, well, how does this kind of fit into the whole scope of things? So the way that this would start off is with a staff training. And we're actually even thinking beyond the staff training, just a general overview to welcome staff to the pilot, which would be next Wednesday. We would then have a staff training where we would go over what the steps are to be able to administer the TABE assessment. And then from there would be a pre-test for year 1 students. So year 1 students, that's mostly 9th grade students. You may have a sprinkling of some 10th, 11th grade students. But again, this refers to one of those, that first initial goal, right? Allow for early career exploration. Okay, so ensuring that we are recommending candidates for internships, pre-apprentice programs, to work for local companies upon graduation, where they're not only ready based off of the skills that they have, but also for their academics as well. So there would be a pre-test for the year 1 students. Staff would then we would do another training to review how to go into the TABE workforce portal to generate that nice first report that we had seen before. We would take a look at those areas for next focus, and then we would do student goal setting, because there does need to be a level of accountability on the students as well. And then after some time, there would be a post-test for those same year 1 students, and that would be with the TABE 12. Now, at the end of this is where, so DRC, we're working with you the entire way. My next step is I'm going to be getting a list of all the companies that were at that round table, some of the unions. I know that Mike had mentioned that some of the programs already have wonderful internships or even pre-apprenticeships set up, but we're going to work together to be able to help expand that. So that way, based off of this data, especially thinking ahead to next summer, right? Being able to make referrals based off of the data to local companies for paid internships, right? Letting them get that hands-on experience, letting them build those valuable relationships with companies that once they graduate, you know, they could go into a full-time job. Same thing with pre-apprentice programs, making sure that the individuals can be as successful as possible once they graduate. So this is more or less the scope of it. But again, we're really trying to work together. Mike and the team at UBCTS, from what I've seen, you know, on social media, on LinkedIn and publications, everything that's been going on there looks like great work. So we are just trying to see how it is that we can assist with, again, trying to continue to build out that pipeline of next generation workers.
Thank you, Chelsea. And yes, we'll celebrate it. We just won a national work-based learning competition as a finalist, which we'll share with you. Chelsea, when we originally approached you, there was a cost. How much is the cost of it as being part of the pilot program? It's free, right?
It's completely free. All trainings are free. All testing is free. All reporting is free. Everything is completely free. Yep, no cost at all.
So for the benefit of everyone here, a while ago, we separated. So we said to the sending school districts, you handle the academics, we'll handle the technical training. We know that doesn't really for our Perkins. This is cool that just wrote it. We had 2 areas of deficiency, and those were what in the Perkins plan?
The Keystone literacy and algebra scores.
So that means in terms of job placement, participation, completion, all of those were very, very successful in, but we needed a plan to help get our students score up in language arts and algebra, which is why I originally reached out to them. We know in the past, even though there was a separation, we've had students that we've actually had the employers work with over and over again with different ratios, different math problems, because our job is to make sure that they're prepared. So I think working with this, and I'll present working with the sending school districts together, that our focus is on academic integration. Stacey, you have a background and knowledge and a passion in this too, which I'm so excited about. Would you share that?
Sure. For 6 years, I ran the Career Assessment and Development Center at my former school, and one of the things we did was we piloted the program to support academic growth in our CPC students. We didn't use paid, but the process was very similar. We used a different product. We assessed our first year students in the fall of their first year, got a picture of where they were in terms of their academic performance in reading and mathematics. And then we used a different program to build a customized training program for them called Study Island. Some of your districts may have used that at one point or another. And then students spent 45 minutes to an hour each week working in those tasks that were specifically selected to support those areas that they were underperforming in. And we measured the growth of the post test at the end of the year to see if there was difference, or improvement specifically, of course, would be different. And that was helpful because there were multiple factors that contributed to that growth, but regardless, all of the measures that were put into place by our CPC and the federal schools reflected growth.
So we had national competition with work-based learning with Mrs. Walk. We talked to Mrs. Dios and Mrs. Freed, who was willing to pilot it for the staff. They were super excited about it. And again, the college career, that academic integration, making sure that students have every opportunity available. We're really, really focused on that. All of our programs are focused towards not only in the career post-secondary, but basically as we work with the community college for them to get those college credits while they're here in the high school. We're continuing working with the community college, Del Valle University, et cetera.
So we interface with the sending districts, or on this.
This just, Chelsea, this just came out a week ago, so we're planning.
When are we expected to approve or go or?
Well, hold on, I was gonna bring up this one other thing too.
Well, the question is when.
Well, this could be the same, this could lead to the same answer this is not, as Mr. Hollowell said, a separate program. This just piggybacks all of our other programs to help improve their math and reading literacy.
Yeah, we just wanted to bring it to the JOC's attention because our staff believes in it and we think it's a value and important. And so we're already planning to implement this for the benefit of the students and that purpose plan.
Correct me if I'm wrong, it's basically a free
So-
remediation plan to remediate kids in
this
this.
year,
Yes,
and have we interfaced with any of the sending school districts or TLs?
not yet,
Or
not yet, no.
I can say, however, and sorry to jump in here,
that the 9 most threatening words are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And here we are. 3 weeks from school and the program may be great. But we've said nothing to the teachers and the administration of our sending districts.
Again, he said he got it a week ago. A week.
and is it okay if I jump in here too?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this just started up a week ago, but what I can say, we've already been reaching out to districts across Bucks County as well. And so I had a nice call with Bristol Township yesterday, continuing to reach out to see other districts that are interested, K-12, not just career tech schools, but also other districts as well. Yeah.
Until our OTLs and the folks that
What is an
Education.
OTL?
also teaching and learning.
Oh, okay, I've never heard that terminology
So-
before. So you mean like the.
Narrator, exiting narrator.
So I'd be reticent
So Chuck,
to comment one way or another on it, or get an opinion.
we've had in Quakertown exact examples of this in the past.
Well, that's fine.
The administration is allowed to, if
Narrator.
there's no budgetary impact, if there's no budget to pilot a program.
How do we not know that the instruction doesn't clash somehow?
Clash math and reading support? How can that clash?
I don't know. I'm not an educator and neither are you.
Well,
Actually, I am an educator. I actually am certified to teach elementary and middle
How do we know
school.
that the curriculums don't clash?
I can
How do we know
answer
that
that.
how do we know that they're not, that they don't subtract from the sending district in some way? I just want an opinion. That's what we try to do, try to understand and get an opinion.
So part of the
It's
academic,
already too far gone. It's too far gone. I'll write that down along with the other.
Okay, so Mike,
That's what I have.
Mike, I want to thank you for jumping on board to something that's only been available for a week to be at the forefront of making sure that our kids have the math and reading skills to be marketable, to increase our scores, to make sure that they have access to those jobs. I know, without speaking to Kathy Scheid and Tony Rabarchak, that they are going to be fully supportive of this and that they're going to be thankful that we have another resource in place to help boost scores and help kids be successful in reading and math. I think this is wonderful. I think it's great that it's free. So thank you for doing it.
I do thank you for that, but to kind of agree with you in the point. I am a little bit suspicious of the whole like kind of the government. It's everywhere. It's going to be great. It's one coming here. There's a full quarter where it's going to go. So I feel like I have a lot more questions based on how it would be used. What's in the pre-test, post-test? How does that work here? Will they be taking like some of the time? Like just using the study island as an option, will that be taking time here that they do those interventions here, as well as like the portal, I guess, like when it says to generate a white paper on the value of using TABE and the TABE workforce portal to indicate academic career readiness. Like does the information from our students go into like a bigger portal where the privacy needs, like, I guess I'm just thinking, you know, since it's out there, it's nationwide. I guess I just have some of those questions since it is only a week. And then I know free is great, but sometimes free also makes me feel like, well, why is it free? Because
we have a strong curriculum with academic standards built in, and we do know, so we already have that. Vocabulary is a key area. We do know that students that are like 3 grade levels or below, it's up to remediate. So we're working very, very closely with that. Some school districts include those academic requirements and it's shared with the school district during the application process. There's always been the concern that we would use and not accept students with that. So as we begin to test students and see where they are as a pilot, it's very, very important that we have access to that. And as long as part of us writing that plan for Perkins, that goes to us to say, okay, how are you doing the tech school getting students to be literate? And I appreciate this feedback. We will definitely be working closely with the school districts on that. But it's kind of, we've always had the academic, you know, the standards built in, it's in our curriculum.
So I would add too, Mr. Khan, since he's here early tonight, can help out on this. I know in Quakertown, it was mentioned before that the administration can pilot a program as long as there's no cost without board approval. Correct?
That's a policy. That's a policy decision.
No, it's the process. It's a pilot.
I would.
It's a test.
It's the process. You know, just the optics stink.
Well, hold on. So first of all, I'm kind of in between both of you because I don't like the idea that the administration would go and pilot something without telling us about it, but they're telling us about it. So I'm kind of missing the point. Within a week. And it hasn't, you haven't started this, right? There's no kids here. It's been a week in the summer. You're bringing it to us. If 5 board members tonight said, no, we don't want to improve our math and reading scores, please don't bring in a program to help support our kids, you wouldn't do it, right? Because you're seeking board approval. So
I wouldn't say that. All I'm saying is, yes, please review that with our paid professionals at the sending district.
he's also a paid
Who's responsible
professional.
for the academics at your own? And
Well, no, we are also
We're
responsible
also
for the academics because Perkins dinged us
as far
for.
as the test course goes, English is a second language students that are a growing population. And, you know, so the language arts needs are going to grow, you know, just organically. So, you know, the fact that the academics at the sending, keeping them academic at the sending district and the technical are here, I understand that. But it's not because they're feeling as much sending district as the population is changing as well. So, you know,
Wait for it.
it's the process. I think it's another arrow in the quiver. I think it's a good deal. The optics stink.
So, Mrs. McCall, can you answer when we do the permit or the application for Perkins? They come at us and they give us recommendations.
They actually don't give us recommendations. What we do is we receive a letter that says you did not meet satisfactory progress on these indicators.
And math and reading are,
This year it was 2F1 and 2F1 and 2F2, the literacy and the math. When we write our grant, if you have any of those indicators noted as underperforming, you are required to develop a plan. It doesn't dictate a product or process that you have to use, but you have to say, yes, I've received your letter. Yes, I understand where I need to be. This is how I'm going to get there.
And this
how
is a
we're using
plan,
her
correct?
Dollars to remediate that.
and implementing this would be a part of that plan,
So
correct?
to be fully transparent, the Perkins plan had to be submitted prior to this coming to light. So the Perkins funds are used for facilitators to provide extra support pushing into the classrooms. So it is fully for facilitator salaries, and that's about $155,000. This was not on the radar when I submitted that grant request.
Okay,
But could it be a tool that we could say in our follow-up report? That we use this or a product similar and a process similar? Yes, we would document the process we go through this year. And reflect that in the report out.
but it is requested of us to implement a plan to improve math and English scores, even though, as Chuck says, or Mr. Shermer says, we should let the sending districts deal with that, but that directly could affect our grants here. So we are tasked with trying to improve math and English scores.
To address that, this is something additional to that, and that's fine. My point remains.
So can I
Who
ask a
else is
question
here?
in your
That's my
Perkins,
point.
in the
And the answer is
plan that
nobody's
you
reviewed it.
in the plan you said,
Just belly up the table, say nobody's reviewed it, and we're gonna implement it. Fine, if that's what we're gonna do, that's fine, let's do it.
pretty sure that's what we're doing tonight in Vilnius, but. The plan that you submitted to Perkins, for additional facilitators, are they covering the cost of that? Help me connect the dots on this. So they're saying that we're basically not meeting our proficiency for math and reading. But we're bringing in facilitators that help with them learning a trade, right? How are they helping them increase math and reading scores if our facilitators are helping with the trade content? I mean, I know that there's some of those skills that you learn as a result of that, but it's not like we're having specific targeted reading and language arts with the facilitators, are we?
So we have some technical facilitators with occupational skills, but the role of the facilitator is to implement the IEP or 504 plan and implement those accommodations. So when they pull students out for small group instruction, the technical task could be doubling and multiplying recipes. That's the technical task of the program of study, but we break that down and we're teaching applied math as well. So there is PD that's provided to the facilitators through our own PD, through PD that are already trained with facilitators through the IU on breaking that content down, and also work under the auspices of the three special education facilitators to understand student X is really struggling with this aspect of math and it's applied in their technical program. What would be a better way to approach this?
Are we using the scores that show specifically what skills they're short on? And targeting those skills? Like, because it seems like that's what this program would do, right? You would look at, okay, what are the skills that they're showing they're not meeting that proficiency on, right? Like you can look at that data, you can break it down and you can say this student is struggling on, you know, these 10 skills or whatever, right? Is there any plan where we're taking those 10 specific skills for that specific kid who struggled in that area and saying, we're going to work on those 10 skills? Or is that Because it seems like this program would do that, right? Like you can program it into Study Island to say, these are specific areas that I need this kid to work on, right?
Well, that I don't know. Study Island was simply an example of the product I used previously. We don't have a contract for an academic resource like Study Island. So the Foresight and St. Islands testing or remediation is simply what the former products I used at my former school.
Mhm.
I don't know enough about TABE to know whether they are just the benchmarks, the benchmarking tool, and we would have to find that product to help bridge the gap. And that's where we could and probably should partner with our sending schools if they're paying for a service, have our students use it, or if TABE comes with a module to address those identified deficiencies.
You're absolutely right. The
Mr.
Harvard.
Barrett, is that something that you can speak to? Is there, is this just really the testing piece and the benchmarking, or is there a tool to specifically address those skills using the data that we get from those benchmarks?
Yeah, so Mike, can you please go back one slide? So I'm thinking even of something that was mentioned before and thinking of, I'm not sure if any of you have heard of it, but the MTSS model or the multi-tiered systems of support. That's something that we've done multiple trainings on across a variety of our different products. How to be able to use the data, like the report that you see at the very bottom, and understand, okay, if I have a 25 students, that's that tier 1 level of support where I need to do remediation for the entire class to be able to help them to make that growth and be career ready. Because not only do we want the students to be performing well on the other assessments like NOCTI, but we want them to be successful in the careers so that way they can sustain those jobs too, right? We don't want them to be experiencing turnover because that's something that's only going to end up impacting them negatively. So with these reports, you're able to understand where you need whole class support and remediation, where it is that you can do those small groups. And it sounds like you have facilitators, if I heard that correctly, that are going to be able to assist with that. Here's the data showing who it is that needs support, for example, with expressing repeated addition of unit fractions, something that's necessary to be successful as a carpenter. Also, where it is where you need that one-on-one type of learning opportunity. So we don't provide the curriculum that we are an assessment company, but we do provide the trainings and the test itself to really help with data-driven instruction. You know, it's not just like a word vomit of data, right? If that were the case, then it wouldn't be successful anywhere. We want the data to be used with fidelity to ensure that the students are able to make the growth and actually be successful academically for the careers that they are interested in.
So then what I hear you saying is that each pre-test and post-test would be not just one pre-test, it would be specific to the trade or the program that they would be in. That's what they would be testing on for those skills to see what, is that what I'm hearing?
So it's aligned to college career readiness standards. It's a general reading assessment, a general math assessment. However, with the TABE workforce portal, it links now their scores to the careers that they're interested in pursuing. And we actually, these scores that you see, you can also pull by quantiles, as well as for lexiles, instead of scale scores, because we did a partnership with Metametrics as well to be able to determine that.
So you're able to break the data down by whatever trade they're in and which skills apply directly to that trade to see which one should be prioritized based on that trade.
Correct. Yep. And that's where you would see the areas for next focus item.
And then that would be something, Mrs. DeCoola, to your point, then that when our facilitators are sitting down with those kids, and those are obviously skills that are built into the curriculum because those are skills they use in that trade, you can prioritize, you can have the facilitators prioritizing those skills to work with kids on. You know, does your data, do you know if there's a way for you know, I know that you can manually upload it, but I know we use Linkit. I don't know if Quakertown and Palisades use Linkit, but do you know if it's something that you know, your system can communicate with their system?
So we don't have direct synchronizations, but you can export data. We have student data files. You can export it to a CSV and Excel file, and potentially import it into your system that way.
Okay. That would be great. And then, you know, we can link it to break down that data too and have those extra supports reinforced with the sending districts as well. And that would help give them the tools to be able to do that and use this data in both organizations.
Now, I could ask Mrs. Kula one other thing. How much did a CTE contract for Study Island cost approximately a year?
That was a really long time.
Well, I'm just saying like the you know, the savings that we could realize from something like this as well.
Granted, I think it was about $5,000, but we're going back. Like,
Okay.
going back 2007 to 2013, so that number is outdated.
Yeah.
But between the two softwares, you're probably about $8,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's my only other concern, just to put off with you for discussing it, is after the students would take the test, and this is still example, I'm not saying that, it would happen here, but let's say like one of the deficits are, I'm just gonna throw out the Pythagorean theorem, but obviously that's not what their trade, it's not what they're specializing in. I would just hate to see them be pulled to like work on a remediation that truly wasn't going to benefit their trade, which I know that's not the intent, I just feel like I have to put it out
We
there.
appreciate that. We know our students, they're hands-on learners. They learn the trades and that will never stop, or, you know, we believe in that strongly. We're just going to say is we'll provide a teacher. Harvard University, there are 3 ways to improve achievement. Number 1 is focusing on the professional development in a teacher. The second part is on the curriculum, and the third is working with the students to understand the importance of reading nonfiction, et cetera, on how this could improve them. So this will do this. I will assure you that our instructors, which is the best, will never sacrifice. We know what we're here for. That's a big part of our interview question, the hands-on, the applied knowledge. And so this would enhance it, it wouldn't take away. Perfect. Okay, I thank you for your consideration and bringing that in. Healthy thing for, participating in this. Looks like we have some follow-up and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me on. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready to start the.
Well, can we get a quick 5 minutes? I know it'll make us a little bit late, but.
Does everyone agree to 7:05 or?
Yeah.
5?
For August 17th, 2023. We did not have an executive session prior to this meeting. Are we planning on having one tonight? Okay. So we will salute the flag.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Graham, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Spear,
Here?
Ms. Janice Clemens. Here. Mr. Cormack,
Here.
Mr. Hallowell,
I am here.
Dr. Ott,
Here.
Ms. Rashino.
I believe she said she was going to call it in.
Mr. Shermer.
Here.
Ms. Bloomgren.
Here.
The board couldn't be here and Scott couldn't cover for.
Okay, so we do have 7. I guess if Diane does come in, hopefully she announces herself. If she unmutes herself, will we?
Then I'll record it.
Okay. All right, so there was no, and is no executive session plan. We will start with our director's report. Oh, sorry. Yes, number 3. Is there any public comment from any audience members? Or anyone on Zoom? See any? So now we will move on to the director's report.
Okay, Schools USA update. Our students competed with 6,500 contestants in 108 events. A lot of judges, competitions occupied a space equivalent to 31 football fields, 41 acres. Thank you to the JOC for your support, generous contributions in supporting our students and the faculty. We have 2 of our students here with us tonight who we're so very, very proud of. Placing 4th nationally in the baking and pastry arts, Taylor Deal is here with us. Congratulations, what an unbelievable. 8 hours worth of competition, helping clean up the, and I was doing this, unbelievable. Taylor, you were great to spend time with you, and the rest of the students were awesome. We're very proud of you, Taylor. Would you like to comment or anything?
Are you looking forward to going again next year to national? All right.
No pressure, but it's gruesome. It's so tiring, etc. Step 10 also accompanies, thank you for your support. There's schools that's the expectation to compete nationally. And there's one school in Vermont, you can stay friends with them. They reach that level, whether it's a private school each year. So they know the competition, the fact that you send our instructors to see it, to feel it, to know what to expect, then that becomes the expectation. When much is given, much is expected. So we had great students. They're going to come back. They're going to leave the legacy of the next group. If you work hard, if you listen, you do a great job, you try hard, the sky's the limit. And that's what happened. So very, very proud of you, Taylor. And culinary arts, Eric is not here. Dr. Friedman from Quakertown, Chris and I visited Rockville Filling Station. They had a donation. Eric is working so very hard. He couldn't be here tonight because guess what? He's working. And so he's very, very appreciative. And finally, along the same lines about academic integration, the stage, this is Nick Steve, who's here. He placed 13th nationally in related technical math. So very, very proud of you, Sage. Would you like to make any comments?
Yeah, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to go and have that experience. Not only was like a really great academic goal to go achieve, but also it allowed me to meet so many people and that are still helping me and to continue to help me throughout my academic success. This is a really great experience.
My wife's company is called College Wise, and when Sage said he wanted to go to Georgia Tech, her colleague went to Georgia Tech, Harvard, was also the admissions director at Georgia Tech. So we put her in touch with Sage, and she's been very, very helpful to help you reach your aspirations of getting into Georgia Tech. And she's doing that pro bono, that work, etc.
Yeah, that's really helpful because usually college guidance counselors are really expensive and everything really helpful.
And we appreciate that. And you've done the hard work. And you've taken a very, very difficult course load. The ability to take some classes in community college, because I have high course load, is very difficult to return. And I'd have some phone calls in to Penn Ridge to see how we could get Sage to come back so he could compete again next year. We hate to lose him, but we also know we want to do what's in students' best interest. The big debate between advanced placement or those direct college credits is going on. We're doing our best to also work with our partners at the community college to get saved to come back.
So are you, because I know we'd had this conversation about you trying to balance the two to be able to come back here next year. You know that now you can take all your classes at Bucks. The policy changed, so your core courses can still be taken at Bucks now. And even if we offer it at Penridge, you can now take it at Bucks. So I don't know if that's something that's weighed in, but definitely, I'd love for you to be able to do all of the combination of what you're trying to do.
I would absolutely love to be able to do that. My one, that's really helpful, but my one concern with that is that when I look at the Bucks courses, like all that are available, they do not have the courses on, not all the courses, not many of the courses that I'm interested in, and which are for some reason only available at Penridge, like maybe physics, C, mechanics, or electricity management, or anything like that. So I'm still skeptical, whether or not I'll be able to do that.
Okay. Well, let's try to arrange for him to have that conversation. I hate for you to miss out, but we also have partnerships with other colleges too. So maybe one of those would have a better match for what you're looking for, but.
I would be totally willing to explore that, and also, I don't know if I can, but even if I'm unable to do that, I would still love to like participate in some like extracurricular work here, that would be possible.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, but we'll figure it out. Come up with a plan.
I'd like to thank Rock Hill Filling Station for the $500 cap travel to Skills USA. The Keelersville Club just recently donated $320 for the needy student fund. Very, very helpful. I know they're doing some donations for students in the Penridge School District. And we have a motorcycle in memory of Mike McCacken. Allison is helping set this up on August 26th. It's called the McCacken Legacy Ride. It'll be a t-shirt, food, and music, bicycle, motorcycles to the Hilltown German Hungarian Sportsman Club in Hilltown. So he is a big supporter of the tech school. He hired students that come to the tech school. Mike Henry has been in touch. He'll be the beneficiary of our HVAC and plumbing, and we really thank them. And I'm looking forward to going out and supporting that fundraiser on the 26th. Years ago, 2 comprehensive plans ago, not our current one, we had some issues about being the best kept secret. And so what we focus is on the website, the social media, and make sure that everyone knows what's happening at the tech school. We get constant feedback from the community that they love what's going on. We appreciate that. Through the Bucks County Economic Development, we put in a raffle, and I won the raffle. So we get a free marketing plan from those professionals. And one of the things we realize is we got away from those press releases. All of the school districts have a designated, used to be Gary from Clayton County, economist at Penridge, Donna Holmes. So we want to make sure that our information, and through our newsletters, I do a monthly newsletter getting out in the community, but they've helped us, and they did a social media plan for us. Melissa Nice helps me with that, gives us, our ability, we prioritize it. And we want to make sure that we hit all of the Herald, all the press releases. So that'll be an emphasis of focus during the upcoming school year. And we are getting that local, state, regional, and national presence. One of our initiatives in years past, there was concerns of special ed at Upper Bucks County Tech School. We reached out to the Bucks County IU for help. We had transition plans. We got past that. One of the initiatives through was our universal design for learning to support all learning. And I'm happy to state we have some very, very good press, and we connected UDL with NACI, and we are going to develop a micro-credential for all CTE educators throughout the country. And not only is that, we're looking to present at the national conference, I'm very working closely with JOC, UBL. That was also funded by the Office of Career and Technical and Adult Education in the United States, Department of Education. So that's the message from that new SOMA is there's many, many great things going on. Let us help you get that message out even more. So, I'd like to thank Karen Free, our special ed department, our staff. Together, we embarked on that professional journey. All professional development, job embedded, ongoing, sustainable. I took the test, my potential, that was the first one, I passed it, luckily. And, look forward to, again, keeping Upper Backcloth on the map for being innovative, looking to bring programs in that's not only going to benefit our school, but everyone in CTE. We have the best school to work program, I've been saying that, in the country. The United States Department of Ed wanted to promote work-based learning throughout the country. So they put together a competition. There was 2 different, and Lisa's here with us, you're heading up a lot of that, unlocking career success. So they said, how could that be replicated? The 2 areas are novice or expander. We submitted as an expander. We were selected as one of the top 100 schools to move to phase 2.
So there were 35 different schools, or I'm sorry, 35 states entered this competition, and Mike had submitted all of our stuff that we do here. And as you know, our cooperative education and career internship really grew last year, the end of the year, with 119 kids out working. So I feel that we have a lot to offer this competition, because we do a lot of promoting and helping the kids try to find the right workplace. So we were chosen to one of 100, and there is only one other school that I recognize on that list, Lackawanna County CTC. But we will, now that we're chosen, I believe we're getting $10,000, correct, Mike?
Upon completion, we have $10,000 that we will get. It's a lot of work.
Yes.
Lisa, I, and the 10 second co-op coordinator is willing to do that. Not sure if we're going to share all of our secrets, because the next phase gets us
$150,000. So it's a 2-year project. Now that we've made it into this phase, they're going to assign us some people to kind of help promote us. Even though I do think that Upper Bucks does a really good job with promoting, but maybe there's other ways that we can go about it. So
it's a company called Captivate. They're a marketer, because they want to take the success of school districts like us and be able to replicate us.
Definitely.
And so one of the things I've done out of line was, how are we going to get to that next stage? And I didn't put it in context. One of the things that we want to be able to put into context was those career pathways. That was part of my earlier presentation, qualification communications, because along with that career pathways and the academic proficiencies, one of the other things I didn't talk about was a national company called U-Science that have really entered the market in CTE for career interest and aptitude. They bought up NC3T, Hans Vieter's company. They do a lot of industry recognized certifications. I'm very, very close with senior leadership there. My son has taken that test. It's about $55, about piloting it and continuing to be innovative with this potential academic U-Science. They already committed they could give us the test for our students for $14, but I'm not satisfied with that. I'm going to say, if you want to get involved with the tech school in this national competition, you want to get involved with paid, we're hoping to get that for free. So that was part of the larger plan when we talked, just so everyone kind of puts that in context. Sorry, Lisa.
No, not at all. So it's the competition is just really to make your network bigger. So you can have different avenues to be able to find the kids for the employers to be able to connect them together and make the whole ecosystem much, much larger. So with that being said, then we need stronger literacy skills, we need stronger math skills, we need everything to be able to tie in so that the students can be as successful as we know that they're capable of. The whole entire program or the whole entire competition is 2 years long. So the final award will be handed out or given or distributed July of 2025. So it's quite an undertaking. I feel strongly that we will do well because I do have the support of the school and of course the board, and I think our students can help us network and be stronger.
I have a question. Are we sort of handicapped in the competition? Because we have so many to start with, there isn't as much room for growth.
I don't believe that. It's untapped. All of you, let's face it, all of you.
I mean, are you ready to support 200 students out on co-op?
Well, with the addition of the second co-op person, I think it's doable. I definitely do. And last year, as you remember, we also had the co-op certified teachers that were in the building helping us be able to meet the requirements by the state to do the visits. So I think if we get really too swamped, maybe we could revisit that and be able to.
We've done that with Marianne. So we are looking for the sky's the limit. So we are looking 2+. All of you have career pathways in there. I'm not sure the levels. That's our bread and butter. And so that other program, in addition to the academic, it was those 9 career pathways that would also help getting access to those businesses, apprenticeships, et cetera, that would help this.
Right.
So it's kind of context. I apologize putting that out of the order, but I just wanted to show the vision of why we were doing that, why we're partnering with those career pathways in that academic program, with the ultimate goal is for us, we're already on the map, but for us to be the national and 10 best in the country. Just like Taylor and Sage, we believe the sky's the limit.
So how many went to the second round? Because they take up to 10 for the third round. So how many total?
100.
Okay.
Maybe for the second round.
Okay.
But, and I don't know if, Mike recognized either that this is a big long-term commitment. And they're, are required to meet twice a month for 3 hours each time to be able to receive the next instructions and that type of thing. So it's a big commitment. So out of those 100, I was thinking that, there might not be as many that can commit to that. So I'm excited about it because, I think with the direction that we have gone this year, I feel like there is still so much more potential for growth. If we have 950 kids in the school and have 119 out at work, I feel like we could easily have 200 kids out, especially right now, because everybody needs everybody.
Yeah.
So.
And those career pathways and the senior option, the partnership with ABC and the Alpha program, recruiting potential seniors during the senior year, the senior options. In fact, right when I was in New Jersey, we had students that had some school districts had 100 student senior option going out in areas outside of the technical schools. So whether they're working for finance, other programs that we don't have, we believe that will continue because our ultimate goal is just to help kids in those businesses. We believe that both of these programs, this and the other program with those career pathways, will allow us to do that. I'll take a little break. Any questions on things that we talked about so far? Comments?
Are you sending updates? You mentioned Quakertown and Henridge, the media person. I know Palisades and Donna Holmes. Are you sending updates maybe to them that they can distribute it?
Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
I like that. We just put in weekly newsletter, send it out, et cetera. And we get tagged, and you could see like our social media, Facebook, many of you are on there, Twitter, LinkedIn. And I also do a monthly newsletter. and Palisade specifically sends that out.
Okay.
So the community, when I'm out and about in the community, they love that. They love hearing it. Keep up the good work. We love hearing about the tax bill.
Yeah, we just hired, a new firm that's gonna be handling our PR as well. So we'll be sure that they get in contact or that I'll have Dr. Friedman set that up between you two, so you have that contact.
Thank you.
Our media person retired and, we outsourced it. And I think it's gonna be a much broader. Yeah, with social media.
It's very important that, to me, from the website, to the social media, to the district, to the board, to make sure that that message is out there. And I spend a lot of time on that. And with new Soma's help, we believe we can even take it to the next level. And we got that frame through that route. I don't know if it's luck or no. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than. So ABC, last month, they said, can you please do some press releases? Sorry. Adrian, let me know if this works. You want to pull up your link that I sent?
Joe Perpelia, President and CEO. Hi, ABC members, Joe Perpelia, President and CEO of the chapter. Very excited to follow up our announcement earlier this summer about our transition to Upper Bucks Technical School. This has allowed us to quickly upgrade our facilities, our instructor base, and really utilize a facility that it would have taken us countless hours and years probably to build from the ground up. We're very happy and want to thank Dr. Herrera for really spearheading this effort to get us here. We have a lot of members that have been involved. I'm sure we'll be sending a lot more video and announcements out. And we want to give thanks, praise to everybody that's been helping us thus far and will be helping us in the future.
We appreciate the partnership with Associated Builders and Contractors and Upper Bucks County Technical School, which we believe will help strengthen our community and reduce the critical skills gap which we are facing. And this private-public partnership will allow us to pull resources to better meet the needs of the workforce and community in Upper Bucks County Technical School and throughout the region.
We're here today to announce and really celebrate the partnership between Associated Builders and Contractors and the Upper Bucks County Technical School. As chairman of the Career and Technical Education Subcommittee on Education, I understand the importance of addressing the skills gap that we have. And what we're really providing here is a state-of-the-art facility for our career and technical education students. And I'm confident that this is a relationship that is sure to succeed.
Craig Stats has been such a tremendous asset to this technical school, advocating for all of us. We're lucky to have such supportive legislators fighting on our behalf to make sure that we have the funding and access to the resources and legislation that we need to be able to operate and offer our students all the best options out there and give them access to their pathways. There's been a lot of hurdles along the way, but we're so appreciative to have him in our court, even setting up hearings here to be able to help to inform our legislators about the needs of our businesses, our industry, and our kids in the technical schools.
We do hire students from the vocational school and have them out on our job sites and we're training them. And using ABC's apprenticeship program, we're easily able to transform them into quality journeymen and better their career.
At the same time, we're looking to enhance our curriculum to focus more on commercial, provide students with opportunities to enter the workforce. This is current students, and this may be also available for students in ascending schools that didn't get a chance to come to the technical school, but may still benefit by going through an orientation and providing them opportunities to earn life-sustaining wages. And we thank Mr. Repper and the Associated Builders and Contractors. We have a long-standing relationship where they've hired many of our students.
And also our Alpha program will be launching in 2024. So that's going to be our direct outreach to get folks interested in the career. So that could be general public, that could be members, maybe recruited from an ABC company, but we're going to be reaching out to everybody. And this is an excellent hub to do it. ABC's partnership with Upper Bucks Vocational School is vital in the workforce development shortage that the construction industry is seeing. Partnership helps bring in more quality people and grow our workforce, which is in a dire need of more support.
It's important to remember is these apprenticeship programs help provide paths forward for our students and provide family sustaining jobs. It's important for students and their families to understand that this is a viable option. There's certainly nothing wrong with a four-year degree, but a trade is fine. The military is a good path forward. And these are all options that our students should be looking at.
I greatly appreciate all of the efforts of Dr. Herrera and ABC to form this partnership together that's to the mutual benefit of both ABC and our local businesses and community members, taxpayers, and students here. It helps us to optimize the use of our facilities at night that are currently going to waste so that we can help our community members benefit from the resources here so they can better their skill set and learn a trade and get employment with some of our local businesses that could really use some skilled employees. So we appreciate this partnership. We're looking forward to a long and prosperous partnership to the mutual benefit of both parties. I'm really appreciative of all the efforts put together to think outside the box and come up with this scenario because it really benefits both groups.
We're again extremely excited to add Upper Bucks to our family and expand our offerings in Philadelphia. Now we're in Upper Bucks. We're still in Lehigh Valley, Hazelton, Northeast PA. So we're really covering the entire chapter.
Also in the packet is a press release that Insoma helped us work and make sure that it's up to date, it's relevant. We updated all of our press contacts. They have press contacts too. It would be nice, sharing that too. I got a call from the IU, so we participate in that group. We just don't have the staff to do it. So this is me working on it, Melissa Knight, who will be attending, and I thank her. So we do this, but any resources that Quakertown, if you're outsourcing it, can make sure that we can meet and maximize those Penridge Palisades to be very efficient will be helpful. So again, take a look at the press release, professionally done. Thank you so much for that. Any questions on ABC? Harleysville, two things in the agenda tonight is going to be a contract for an auction. Joe Perpiglia is going to take pictures and donate all of the stuff in Harleysville to the tech school. If we could use it, our instructors will make sure for the donation. If not, we're going to see if we could auction that off with the proceeds going to Upper Bucks County Tech School. Joe couldn't make it, Representative Stats couldn't make it tonight, but they just wanted to give their thanks for the JOC for supporting it. Adult ed. We know we used to lose money with adult ed year after year. Bucks County Community College wants to lease our cosmetology lab out to run an esthetician program. Similar with ABC, it'll give our students that want to take it, there could be students in the attending school district that could take it. I just wanted to let you know that we're going to look to that, and we had the presentation a couple months ago. Kim Kukis is behind it, she's supporting it. It's Kim here, he's online, but we're going to be meeting to see what those fees are. That'll give us revenue. And it will give more opportunities for our community, the same with ABC.
Can I stop you just to ask you what, and I already did this, so I know the answer, but an esthetician is, Tracy? Yeah, it's like skincare, like sort of an offshoot or maybe it may even be part of the curriculum now.
Mr. Fumo's wife from Palisades, I believe, did that as a citizen in New York. And I just remember having that conversation with him.
So we need to make sure we have, so the technical property is owned by the city. We make sure we have the right to take out. These on programs like support, I just want to make sure the paperwork is right. If there's further approvals and sign off.
Technically, the title still belongs in the name of the made up authority that the case ending district form, but yes.
Make sure the title of the property remains with the same.
With the authority of the three zoning districts, correct?
Technicality, look out there.
Look out.
So with the.
Who wants that authority?
Well, the authority.
And please just make sure and more. Please just make sure that the paperwork is right. Yep. With liabilities and everything else to go on people. Get the changes, drop of a hat, so. Sure. Just want to make sure that. Everything is doing.
The vet tech, the community college wrote a major grant to try to have the vet tech program here in 24-25. Caitlin Danka and I meet with them monthly. They're having a vet tech kickoff, and the same thing, we have to find a way to get the price which we're working on to lease space. But the benefit was, is our kids will take that vet tech program at the end of the day. The list that they have, which we contribute for, because there's that pathway between secondary and post-secondary, is Dr. Diamond, that, you know, people that we have relationships with. There's a large number that are really rooting in the success of that, and I will be providing an update with the recommendation from Mr. Shermer at a future JOC meeting on these areas.
To Dr. Herrera, this could be, you know, in the future, you know, a very comprehensive adult education center then with the ABC contract doing the construction, building services with esthetician using COD, with, Fox using the the vet tech programs and stuff, you know, there could be a very robust offering for adult education or even further education for our students upon graduation.
And they'll get dual enrollment, they'll get the credits, and then they also have the grant writers. That's an area of need that we can use. I don't know if the sending school districts have a grant writer. Stacy and I know we're very, very swamped with, you know, the grants, and we don't want to take on any more. But anytime I get the Career Connected grant, anytime I get grants, I'm going to send it to the community college for them to help write it for us, and they're thankful. Nothing's materialized yet. It's not saying that it would. So if you have the grant writers in the school district and they look out for the tech school, we would welcome that. Right now, we're hoping to, you know, use the community college, which I think we'll be paying off shortly.
And the IU has a focus as well for that.
Okay.
So I believe they do.
I'll check into that. So community is very, very important to us at the school. We're very blessed to have a strong community. One of the goals that we're going to do this year is community education service leader action plan. We have a Rotary Interact Club that will be formalized. We're going to begin to start that here. We work very closely with Penridge. They're doing inducted with the Rotary and with Quakertown. I attend both. We're very, very happy and proud of them. We're going to integrate the CTFOs for community service, promotion. Everything will be CTE leads the way, CTE gets back. It's just the marketing and to show our level of involvement. And we're going to continue our business community partnerships. We're going to include service learning in student portfolios. With us tonight, with the Senior Expo that we've been working all summer with Senator Coleman's office, is Robert Arena. Robert, we appreciate this. I don't know if you wanted to do a quick presentation.
Yes. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for having me. My name is Robert Arena. I am the outreach director for State Senator in Derrick County. Senator Coleman represents Lehigh County and parts of Upper Bucks County. We have 21 municipalities in Upper Bucks County, and we represent Palisades, Penridge, and Quakertown school districts, who obviously all send in students here, to Upper Bucks County Technical School. And now we're hoping to send our seniors here. With our Senior Expo. We've been able to work with Dr. Herrera very closely on the Senior Expo, and it is honestly, we can't think of a better location to have it. Whenever we're speaking in Harrisburg, they're shocked to hear that we're having it in a technical school because they've never heard it done before. And they're extremely excited for us to have it here at the tech school. Now, a couple things we have in the works is we are sending out, and I'll have copies for everybody here. You can see along. We're sending out a postcard to 22,000 households, explaining what we're having at our senior expo. And Upper Bucks County Technical School truly is the forefront of our senior expo. Student-led activities, we're gonna be able to use the salon. We have your culinary students involved, we have your law enforcement students involved.
If I may just, like the cause, they'll do paraffin hand waxes, healthcare will do home safety checklist, fall prevention. Our law will do situational awareness, exercise science will be doing mobility tips, tricks to relieve pain, showcasing the talent of our students, and also reaching with community members that tax base that will get to see the tech school and Skills USA games, etc. Sorry.
No problem. So, and we're trying to bring in as many exhibitors in as possible too, to work with the students, St. Luke's, Grandview Health, Ice Quest.
It's on the board right now. So again, strong community base, PennDOT, Nova. These will be there. We have great relationships, and if we don't have great relationships, we'll make them at the end of that day.
No, I just have a few more handouts as well. This is what we're going to be sending out to those exhibitors. We have plenty of government officials coming as well. We have the Auditor General's office. We have the Pennsylvania Treasury office coming. We have the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. Bucks County, we're working with a lot of their government organizations as well to bring them into the tech school. But mainly, we wanted this to, seniors are an important part of our community, and we really want to outreach to them. But we wanted to do it in a different way. We want to bring generations together. And Dr. Herrera has truly given us an opportunity to do that. And our office, we have a hands-on approach with our outreach. And we want to make sure that we're involved in all of our communities, including the school community. So the idea of having it in tech school, I just want to, I'm not paid to say this. This is truly a testament to Dr. Herrera. You know, we were actually brought the idea from another community partner that the tech school has already been working with, the Bedminster Police Department. They came up to us and they said, you need to call Dr. Herrera. That is the person that you need to get in contact with to make sure that you can have a great event in Upper Bucks County. I had no idea it would turn out to be at the technical school with all of the support we have from the students. But we are truly excited. The senator is excited. I was on the phone with him earlier. He wishes he could be here to talk about how excited he is. It's his first senior expo, it's our first time in his office, and we couldn't be more proud to be working with Dr. Herrera and the Upper Bucks County. So thank you all for having me here. If I can help answer any questions, I hope I was thorough enough.
Thank you. I just have one. Will you be providing, or will the state be providing transportation like to and from some senior living centers?
So we are currently still working out those details. We're reaching out to as many facilities as we can, and we do want to guarantee some sort of transportation from at least one place.
And we did have a test case. Mr. Linden happened to be here this day. He's in a senior home. So, Mr. Linden, I can't see you, but we said, Mr. Linden, how can you get us the seniors? And we ran everything by him. You got the energy. I know it's tough to believe, but representing that senior group.
A bus too. We don't take everybody up in a bus.
I know, I'm the oldest one.
I can fit 4 in my Subaru. But seriously, just to be here and, you know, I'm getting to talk to Sage, you know, hearing actual experiences from the students here. I hope this is the first of many different events and community opportunities that we have at the Upper Bucks County Tech School. So thank you guys, and thank you, Dr. Herrera, for having me today.
Thank you. Thank you.
One of the things on all of our interview questions, we focus on leadership, and that's the question. You're a teacher, but you do so much more. Tonight, Josh Kozak is with us. He just got tenured. Very proud of his development, a true leader. And Josh, you want to talk a little bit about your experience with AWS? And sure.
Good evening, everybody. So over the summer, about 3 weeks ago, I got the opportunity to represent District 3, which covers as far north as northeastern PA and as far south as parts of Washington, D.C. for the American Welding Society Leadership Symposium. Some good news I brought back with me is, the American Welding Society is now offering, students free membership. I'm gonna be looking into starting an American Welding Society student chapter here at the school. Some of the benefits for the student members, they receive free copies of the Welding Journal, and also numerous student discounts for AWS and other publications. But the really great thing that they have to offer for our students, particularly those that are seeking further education in welding and careers in welding, is their scholarship opportunities. Local and district AWS scholarships are there, but also nationally, there's over 60 AWS national welding scholarships alone. The AWS is always holding local events. We are part of the Lehigh Valley section. Last year, the AWS held its annual Lehigh Valley section welding competition, where one of our students placed third, Evan Stockel from Palisade. In this upcoming year, the Lehigh Valley section will be looking into holding more local competitions and fun outings for its student members. So I look forward to hopefully starting a new chapter here, so we can keep involved and get more involved. But I'd also like to take a moment tonight to recognize all the staff, support staff, administration, maintenance, and anybody else that I might be forgetting in this next little story I'm going to share with you. But at the leadership symposium, I sat next to a gentleman representing District 7 out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We got to chatting, and we both shared that we were educators. When he asked what school I taught at, and I said Upper Bucks County Technical School, he immediately said, "Oh, we have heard of your school. You guys kill it in Skills USA every single year in all categories." And I thought that that was kind of almost a little bit shocking for me, being a new teacher, fairly new teacher, hearing somebody from the other end of the state know about us and how good we are at it. So it brought a lot of pride into me, and I hope you guys feel that pride too. And I hope we have a good year, just like we did last year. So thank you guys.
I'm gonna go a little bit out of order. On tonight's agenda, you'll see, sorry, the resignation with regret of Mr. Mathias. Who was a fantastic instructor, mentor, friend, and colleague. We'll celebrate him at a future date. So that may be given for the student. Josh, you want to talk about, can you leave?
Yeah.
About Mr. Mathias being a mentor to him, one of the best he'd ever had. So, I'm sorry. We have the NASA Hunch, October 26th. They reviewed the 6 pieces we sent them. The quality was superb. The documentation was excellent. We were the first school in the country to manufacture this specific part. Mr. Chancellor will take that on, and Mr. Kozak will be the cluster chair. So, sorry about that. Please.
You have it somewhere.
No, thank you. Just a Toyota Lexus one. That's it.
Oh, okay. I thought you had something on your phone.
Thank you.
Okay. So, we, through the effort of Pat Shrinko, I'm gonna pitch it on this. He has worked diligently to become a tech certified program that's now open to high school students. So last week we had representatives from Toyota and Lexus dealers in the area, and we are now going to be able to offer some of those dealer and manufacturer specific training courses to our high school students. So this will be an exciting feather in their cap. It's an industry certification that can't be replicated anywhere else. You have to go through a technical program that is now certified. So the program is certified, Patrick is certified. We are thrilled about this. It gives the students a leg up to seek employment in, these local dealerships. And, I'm really excited. I have to, excuse me. I have to commend Patrick Schringo for taking a leadership role in this initiative.
So will this also, help some of our students get placement at local Toyota dealerships for? And are the local businesses from, say, Doylestown or
That's who came last
Allentown?
week, we're local representatives.
Yeah.
But the training is manufacturer specific, so if I'm moving across the country or moving to Texas or moving wherever, if there's a Toyota dealership and I'm working for Toyota, I have a Toyota credential.
Okay,
It's not an upper box credential, it's a Toyota credential, it's a Lexus credential, so it is manufacturer specific. And this is similar to the Honda program that they have at Penn College. It's the manufacturer's training program on a much smaller scale, but it's still.
it's a leg in, it's a leg up, it's a way in.
Because normally you would have to be a Toyota or Lexus employee to access this training.
All the owners, the service managers were here, there was about 20 people, they went very well. Philadelphia, for adults, the closest spot to go is Philly, they had a great, wonderful program. Mr. Iasu helped, we appreciate, put this together through his contacts, we had lunch, we had a great time sitting together. It was a great day. All of those technicians and senior leadership came out from Lexus and Toyota, thanks to Mr. Franco. But again, it's another chance of us being on the map. And then I was invited to go out to Philadelphia to see their program and someone local. So great things are going to happen with this partnership. I'm just going to end it. Oh, two things. Yes, the JOC asked me to get another threat and vulnerability assessment. We are in the pipeline. That'll occur within the next couple of weeks. We're going to get assigned a spot. And we did the Fort Dix training simulator here. And we thank all of the departments and everyone that came out. It was on a Friday, for everyone that stayed. And we appreciate all the volunteer departments that are keeping our students and faculty safe. And then there's a new digital guide, PSAT, SAT. What I've heard is that we want to make sure too, because our students like Save, that they have access to this. Will send it, and I have been sending it out to the sending school district. But it's important for our students to know when they come to the technical school and they may not have access to other different programs that will support it. My wife is running this. She will come out to us, and she also wanted to let you know, she'll come to any of the sending school districts, put on a special presentation for you in those areas. And that's my report.
Okay. We can move on to the subcommittee reports. We did have for facilities, we had a lengthy discussion with Casey Kohler and Logic about the kitchen renovation project and adding that additional classroom space for the culinary program. We have a better grasp on the timeline with delays that occurred through the permitting process. And we also were given future projects that we would like to potentially start on a little bit earlier, so we have more time to vet everything out beforehand, so delays don't necessarily pile up. We want to be ahead of these projects, not behind. That's what SiteLogic had recommended.
I would like to see get a look at that project list and go over it. I know they came up with, we have the 3 items right now. But from what I remember, SiteLogic presented a year ago. It was a pretty comprehensive list. Mr. Howell, I have that and it's on there. Don and I have been updating it periodically. Here is the list. I think we started this about a year and a half ago. We've always had a 5-year plan, which you're aware of. We talked at length, Mr. Howell. Don has done things outside of it on his own. Track it. It's available, and that's why we need just the time. And that's what we're trying to do. We have all these great committees, all these great things happening. My request to JOC is let us know. We stay here, like, we just gotta find time to go through these different lists, because we're so limited in time. If we could start finding ways to do that during the day, it's here, and we'll be willing to share this, whatever.
And you did recommend to us during a facilities meeting that the facilities committee may want to break their committee meetings out. And because we're so limited with time before these meetings, to an additional time. possibly.
Elon Musk farted. I had a little.
Sorry, did not mute himself.
I think Mr. Chairman would agree with me that I'd like to take that list and have a capital plan with dates and numbers that we approve on an annual basis. So that we don't get caught not funding something that needs to be done. The capital project items aren't necessarily part of the general fund. Historically, they have been funded by the school districts in a separate kind of area.
Well, there was a separate funding formula for that.
Correct.
Needed to take place.
Correct.
Yeah, but that was really only for like big renovations.
That's what was in there, so that
Typical projects.
we could fund the capital project.
Yeah, but like roof repairs and stuff like that weren't
We're
part,
going through
they
that.
weren't.
They weren't going through that funding formula. We had
They
that whole
were.
conversation when we amended the articles of agreement, because it was really only being used for the renovation. Any of those other
Well, I
projects,
would
like
like
the
to
roofing
see
and
them
stuff, was
as
just going through the
capital
general.
project and separate from the general funding of the school or the general expenditure of the school. Now, we have regular maintenance items, the roofs sort of fall under that. But this stuff, a brand new building for the ag, that's what they come up with. And I have no idea what they're telling about, all these big ticket items, and I don't know how we're gonna define a big ticket item. 40,000, 100,000, 10,000, I don't know. But whatever we define as a big ticket item that is worthy of the designation of the capital project. I would like to be able to annually look at them and prioritize them and fund them correctly.
So I do know there's an effort, at least with Quakertown, of coming up with suggested changes to the articles of agreement to include language like that. Now, I know Mr. Shermer mentioned at the meeting that he was gonna reach out to you or to other board members from other sending districts to get input on this, but yet that committee has yet to share that document. So I would love to share, and I've had members of this JOC ask me for some of that information.
Status of that. Which you get is that it's going out to our lawyers to put the legal verbiage in the areas that we want to change it. At that point, it's going to be distributed to everybody. And everybody is going to have their opportunity to red line, cross out, do whatever they want.
Or is it also going to our solicitor here?
Why wouldn't?
Okay, I think
I don't
that'd be
know.
a good idea for you to take a look at what they're proposing to change.
Yeah, I think there were some random conversations that happened, behind the scenes with some board members at Penrith, but it didn't go through. It definitely went around board leadership. It didn't go through Dave or I can tell you that. Usually that's the
Essentially,
direction, but that's not how they're doing it.
with respect to.
I can tell you there is
Financial.
support from Penrith to do
The idea
the-
is to make the textual follow the same rules and regulations that the school district has to follow.
Well, from what I've heard of it, and I haven't seen it,
I'm glad you can't stop.
I disagree, because, I mean, what you're also trying to do is say that you give complete authority for every single thing to the superintendent, which I find
Well, the superintendent record is our employee. And that's stated in the,
if it's our employee, right? How do we hold that employee accountable? You don't, because that employee doesn't report to
I'm not
us.
gonna debate it.
They point to they report to their own sending district board.
This is the way it's set up, and, you know, we,
What happens
frankly,
when,
done a disservice to the previous two that I've seen, superintendents of record, by completely cutting it out of the equation. And probably the last three, I don't know, but certainly the last two. And they're the ones that have the certifications and background to help manage the tech school. And we didn't, not only do we not take advantage of that, we ignored it.
Dr.
So-
O'Connell and Dr. Bolton were not cut out, so I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Absolutely they were, and those are, you know, my age.
Well, I will tell you though, that the school code, the reason boards exist and the JOC exists is to provide public oversight to those. That needs to remain, and the language you spoke of in your committee, that was closed to all public input, by the way, just in case any of you wanted to attend those meetings.
Thought it was on Zoom.
It was on Zoom with all public comments turned, with a chat turned on and no public comments.
And adjudicate if you want, Chris, I'll happy to do it. Whether that is part of the Sunshine Act or not.
I'm not saying it's part of the sunshine.
To have committee meetings that you don't have any public.
Yeah, I
comment, you
mean,
wanna talk
every
about
other committee
transparency.
meeting that we do has public comment. Redistricting committees had public comment.
Committee meetings don't even need to be.
No, it doesn't need to be, but
Right,
as.
exactly right.
Okay.
So the fact that we didn't have public
The
comment.
fact that you had
doesn't
secret
mean-
meetings where you're gonna release a secret document, you guys really set the bar for transparency.
Yes.
But it wasn't secret if you could zoom in on it.
The first-
I looked
okay,
it
there
up.
was-
I just couldn't do it at
Dr. Rock,
5:30.
there were two meetings.
I've been very.
The first
open
one
about
you
my
could not,
back-
no one could zoom in on, nobody could view it.
Articles of agreement. That's not a surprise to anybody in this room. And this is, since I'm doing something about it, and you can mark it up as you
Well,
wish.
the other two members that were chosen for that committee have no experience with the tech.
I find that it's a disservice to the taxpayer, it's a disservice to the district. We somehow pull off great education, but the top level organization and the executive team, which has been the executive team for God knows how long, too long, has done everything that they can to cut out the rest of the board as much as they can and do exactly what they please. And that's what you've
How
done.
have you been cut out?
That's what you've done.
I mean, you make all these wild accusations,
I'm not
but you don't
making
give
any wild
any specific
accusations.
examples of anything. You
For
say that
instance,
people are getting cut out all the time.
We're supposed to have by contract a review for Dr. Herrera.
Mhm.
And we got notice of a review for Dr. Herrera the day before a meeting. The day before.
It was not a day before the meeting, no, it was
It
not. It
was the day before.
was not
So
a
we
day
were
before the meeting.
expected in an executive session to review a year's worth, or half year's worth, three quarters of a year's work of Dr. Herrera.
They were approved
In
goals
point of
from a
fact,
year ago.
the person who was really supposed to review, we were supposed to provide input, but the person who was supposed to review was superintendent of record.
Who was out on medical.
And we got 24 hours notice of that.
So the job description, which by the way
Not like the
predates,
Job description.
okay, Mike Herrera's job description, which predates all of us.
I'm
Says that
talking
the
about this year's
JOC
review. I'm talking about this year's review. That's what I'm talking about. And-
Mr.
and
Shermer,
all of
please
that,
let me know
his
when you're
goals-
done, and then
I'm
I'll
not
speak, and then
done.
please let me finish.
His goals We never saw his goals. We never approved his goals.
We did last year, when we hired it.
They came. They
Those
came
were
out,
goals.
we wanted the superintendent of record to have input. That didn't happen.
The superintendent of record was out on a medical leave.
And
But let's keep-
the other thing that we wanted input on was to make sure that Tanya had all the resources that she needed to formulate and bring a good budget to the sending districts. That was a disaster. This year, going forward, I would hope that we provide her the resources to pull that off, which is what I asked for last year, but that for some reason didn't happen.
This was part of the agenda.
All of those items were
I'm
given.
serious.
All of those
So-
supports and items were given.
Right. You know what? It doesn't really matter. It should be. So my point is that we need to make sure that we can't spend unbudgeted money. And that is that's the main part of what I'm, other than the fact that we're making superintendent of record, the superintendent of record in charge. And that, the budget process is exactly what the other school districts need to do.
Well, the other school district can spend money if there's extra money at the end of the year for
Which is
like
what we did.
unfilled positions or things like that, or a project that came in under budget and there's leftover money. They spend that money a lot of times, many times that was unbudgeted, just
Okay, so-
exactly the same way we
So
did it.
considering
Yeah.
that, false allegations were brought to members of my board as well as to reporters, I am going to call out, the misinformation that you continue to circulate. The
About
job
what?
description for the executive director, which far predates my time on this JOC, specifically states that the JOC is in charge of his review. His contract states that we're in charge of his review. Both,
The articles of.
all of
Then
those,
they are
the-
disagreement
the
with the articles of agreement.
you're wrong. The Articles of Agreement
No, that's-
has us in charge of it.
Look,
We're the ones who are,
I've just been looking at that document for weeks. So
well, I'm
take a
telling
look-
you
take a
that the
look at how
job
that's-
description, his contract, and the Articles of Agreement, that responsibility falls on us. The superintendent can give input and would have been welcome to bring input, but he was out on a medical leave. Dr. Scheid is filling in. That was her first meeting. To ask her to participate in a review would not have been fair.
That
And
brings another
ultimately, the
question.
vote comes, I asked you to let me finish.
Okay.
The vote would be the 9 board members, and we were the ones conducting the review, which is the proper and appropriate process, and the same process that we use to evaluate our superintendent, and the same process that we use at the intermediate unit, which I just got finished using at the intermediate unit, to evaluate the executive director of the intermediate unit. So everything
more
is
than 24
completely
hours to do it?
consistent. And we did give you more than 24 hours, and I'd be happy to pull the information
We
to
can
show
go.
you the dates. You had more than 24 hours.
We got 24 hours, 24 hours. to do it. That's what we
And-
got.
and it's
Maybe
not-
a little-
that-
maybe-
that's
maybe
not-
28 hours,
That's not true, but it's,
No,
it's,
that's absolutely true.
it's simply not true.
because the review appeared in, our email, the Wednesday before.
If you recall, we discussed that we were going to do it the meeting before we actually did it. And Mr. Spears sent out the documents for everyone to fill out and bring back to that following meeting. On the note of, items for facilities, we did say last meeting that we would like to get numbers for the partitions. They did bring us numbers through CoStars for those petitions. We put money in surplus money, just like Quakertown used surplus money to purchase a number of things, just like Penridge, just like all of us do. We put money in the capital fund specifically for that expense, as well as the barn and the roof. So I would like to suggest that we use the money that's in the capital fund, that we put in the capital fund for that purpose, to purchase those partitions.
Okay, let me just say that
I'm not comfortable with the way you're doing it. At town station, what I am familiar with is we have a capital project. It's listed in our budget. And then the funding source is listed, but it's from the capital fund. That's all I'm in. It's not,
But there are
it's
projects,
not a decision that you make today to spend the money tomorrow. But the decision that you think about and you look at it ahead of the time so that you have an idea what's going on. And it's not a surprise to anybody.
It's a decision that was made for that intent and the money was put in that account to use. So are you suggesting we not use the money and we not purchase the partitions?
I am suggesting that we get in our budget. And it's a budget that we pass and we have to approve. It has a line that says annex roof. $600,000. Funding source is capital fund.
so Jim,
Not the fund 10, it's the fund.
yes, these can only be then done once a year.
But
Alex,
yes.
But here's the thing, all of the sending districts, all three of us, have at times had projects come in under budget, so then they say, you know, our facilities manager did this to us, our facilities director did this to us, said, we had a project that came in under budget. He said, there's this other project that we would like to do, it's a security update, a confidential security update that they wanted to do to 2 buildings. He said, we have the money left over because this other project came in under budget. We'd like to spend that money. The board says, okay, that's exactly what we're doing here.
No,
So we had extra money last year because of unfilled.
Extra money.
I can tell you, it's a lot. We approved at that, at our June meeting, we approved that budget transfer from all of our surplus money be transferred to, capital, right? That money.
With the way that was done.
So Jim, if you want to do that differently for the next budget cycle, then you can do that. But what we're asking is, at this point in time, the budget is already passed. The money is in that account, right? We put it in that account for this purpose. So we need to know if there's support to purchase the partitions with the money that's in the capital account, right? With the and as well as the renovate the roof and the barn, which are the 3 things that we talked
Hold on
about.
about those two.
Is everybody comfortable with at least using that for these 3 things?
would like
With
to
the
see it.
intent that come the next budget cycle, right? That's all laid, that's all laid out differently the way that you would like to see it happen. But I just don't think that the right decision is to wait a whole extra year to be able to complete those projects, considering we do need the roof fixed. We're not able to use large animals.
If we're using site logic, it's gonna take a year anyway.
Well, maybe not. The barn repairs are a smaller project. And
We don't wanna let those repairs.
to Mr. Shermer's point though, that actually was requested by Dr. Fulton before he went out on the medical leave, that we use our budget surplus from last year to fund that barn and the roof project.
We need to do a
He
better job.
suggested we do
We need
that.
to be up front.
I don't work on much opposition to that.
In the budget, in the proposal for the budget that went to the sending districts, it did list those 3 projects, but we didn't have the exact numbers back yet from Site Logic. So we made everybody aware that those were the 3 projects that we were looking at doing for this year. And we moved the money from surplus to pay for it.
I'm pretty sure we have the money.
We
Maybe
do.
in that capital
we-
account that
We do have. So the-
Done. You don't know what you got, so the other's done.
It's tough to.
So anyway.
Hope's not believing in that. I think, I hope we have the money, but hope is not.
We,
It's not.
so we have, we do have the money. My question is there support to do those projects? Because there's no point in having Site Logic continue to work on those if you're not going to, if you're not going to support them because you want to wait a whole
I
extra
wanna
budget year.
see numbers and a timing. And I wanna see justification from whoever as to what we're doing.
Okay,
So,
so we'll have that brought to the next meeting.
Dr. Herrera, yeah,
Okay.
is it possible too that as soon as you get those numbers, you share them with the JOC prior to next meeting, so we don't just have a presentation at next meeting? Maybe we can have an
We're gonna
approval.
try to get those
at next
numbers
meeting.
for those 3 projects, what the balance is in the capital fund. Right, if there's other priorities based on the priority list that we saw here from the full plan from Site Logic, what that should look like over the next 5 years, the breakdown in costs in that plan.
There's two things, capital maintenance, where a roof goes, and you have to spend money there. That's one thing. Capital improvements are different. Capital improvements are, bricks and mortar and changing configurations around. They should be separated.
Well, the
because
barn needs
if we need a-
maintenance.
We need a roof and, you gotta do that. The capital improvements, you might need some discussion on that because we might have a couple of different opinions on how it's done. So, and that really has to go before the other boards, for the zoning district board, because those are usually big ticket items. Those are usually, I don't know, the last renovation we did was 21 million, I think, the renovation cost, but, and, we somehow muddled through that and did it, and I don't remember the level of discussion that we're having here or written down, but it was well communicated. It was talked about for a year and a half, a lot, and then went out and I think we went for we went for money, and so then Rick, but the capital fund. I don't think anybody questions stuff as far as capital maintenance goes.
Well, that's what the barn and roof are.
I'm saying I don't think there's anybody that's questioning that. As long as it's budget. Capital improvements, that's where, we gotta do a lot of homework. And there has to be a money limit where the JOC can pull the trigger on their own, and then when it's got to go back to the sending districts to have discussion. And I don't know what that, I don't know, I have an idea what that number is. Between 250 and 500,000 bucks, but that's one number that I pulled out today. Have everybody's input on.
Right, but I would say that these 3 projects were shared.
They were all
And
our budget presentation.
along with estimates, but we didn't have specific costs.
Shared with you.
No,
It was on our budget presentation.
in the budget presentation that was presented to all 3 boards.
It was in that budget was subjective.
And it was
in
on the
both
one that's
presentations.
approved as well.
It was.
Still on there.
It was because they were estimates, but that's all we had at the point, at that point. We can't wait another year.
More than that. You can't have.
But that's why we can't wait a full year.
So regardless,
Some can.
But the roof that leaks now, should, you think?
I hope the roof is leaking.
It is.
So my
Certain, I hate these stuff. I do.
So. We have a very good site maintenance plan in site law. Not what I consider a 5-year capital improvement plan. And that's what, those are the big ticket items. Those are the items that take a lot of discussion. But those are the items we have having contention over one of those items right now. And that rest is what needs to be
But that ship has sailed.
formalized.
That renovation project is being done.
It's
right?
already started, yeah.
So we're talking about the
But
roof, the
what are
barn.
bricks and mortar, what other things do we want to do 5 years from now? I
Well,
don't.
we all
just
two
know
more
this.
rooms.
Okay, so first of all, understood, we can have those other conversations, but those are that's a completely separate conversation about whether or not we should be expanding and, you know, planning out the cost for that.
3 months ago.
But we're talking about the expenses that we already have to do for maintenance, which includes the barn, which includes the roof, right? And putting those partitions in so we can utilize that space. So all I'm asking is, can we work with the plan that we have and plan out this portion of it and then start to have discussions like you're talking about regarding expansion and a plan for, you know, and a timeline for what that looks like. I feel like those are two separate conversations. We can accommodate what we need to do now. And with the money that we have, look at how much money we have left and come up with a plan for how much money you want to put in capital on an annual basis. The problem is we were never able to do that until we amended the Articles of Agreement before because of the process that we were going, because of the different funding formula. So now we're able to do that and we can have those conversations. But I don't think that we should hold up what we're doing now. I think that at least next meeting, if Dr. Herrera can have Site Logic come and we can walk through the 5-year maintenance plan, look at those projects we need to do now, right? And pull from the capital fund to accomplish what we need to accomplish this year, and then come up with a plan for next year with the rest of that money. And, you know, can we agree on that and move forward?
Go out to the sending district and say, hey, listen, this is coming next year, whatever the maintenance plan is. And that way the sending districts understand what's coming.
Well, yeah, I think I don't disagree with that at all. I think they need to see that.
Well, right, and that would be, again, a conversation going into the next budget cycle as well, right? Like we're talking about
Starts next month.
right now.
Well, here's the other thing, what I wanted to say to you, Jim. Dr. Herrera, we're anticipating 950 students next year.
I want to see the numbers.
And we'll
So we have
make sure that
950
the numbers for next
If
year.
you had 2 classrooms and you got an empty cabinet making down there. If each one of those is 40 students, you're taking 950 and adding 120 on top of that. There's over 1,000 with the current footprint of the building we have now. Current footprint, no more expansion.
And that's the separate conversation that we need to have, right? But I just don't want to conflate the two. They're two separate things. Great.
Now, I'll just add one more thing. This building was first built. The Articles of Agreement were a collaboration between the 3 districts. We need to get along.
Jim, we collaborated and we approved
Originally,
the last
the funding
amendment.
for this facility came from the 3 districts, and whatever the formula was, it was. Before, and while I've been on the board, there was a time when there was no fund balance allowed here. If they overextended their budget, they had to get additional funding from the whole school. If they underspent their budget, the money had to go back to the home school. If an item came up that required capital funding, emergency, it had to come from the home school.
Jim, that must have been long before the last several, I know you've been on the board a long time, okay? But before I came on, while you were still on, the process was inflate the budget, right? So that there'd be a huge surplus at the end of the year, then roll that surplus into fund balance, and then pull from fund balance to balance the budget every year and create a structural deficit. That's what was happening every single year, and that's why we amended the Articles of Agreement to change it.
Can we move on from this discussion? I mean,
Okay,
what is the bottom line is that do we need to have,
There's a motion on here somewhere about,
is there a motion here
there's
to?
no motion for the door.
there's no motion.
There's no motion. I was trying to find out if everybody had support. It sounds like as long as we can show that the money is there and we go over the Site Logic plan, have solid numbers for those 3 projects.
So all
where
the
the
funding
funding
back to our district.
We're not getting approval from 27 board members to do this.
Approval, but notice would be good.
Notice,
I thought you said no, hold on. I thought we agreed that we were gonna move forward with these 3 projects out as long as we can show the numbers and the documentation, come up with a plan for the rest of it. And then before next year, showing them the plan for next year and the other 4 years, or we can extend it 5 years to share that plan with the sending districts before the next budget cycle, because this is already past that budget cycle. And those projects were already shared with estimates. right? That's what I heard everybody say. That I think was the compromise we can all agree to and move forward, right?
We'll see when motion hits.
All right.
Depending on the feedback, I mean, that's the way I may not like to get hit by a bus before. It's all a lot of problems.
All right.
Okay, so we'll move on. We did not have a finance subcommittee meeting. What I see Tanya's on the Zoom. Was there anything she wanted to update us with or nothing this month? Okay,
The asset inventory comparison is available and we'll go over that next month. That information came in, but we're gonna wait for one more month.
could you share any of that with us ahead of next month's meeting? Share information ahead of it.
We're looking at the auditors will be in.
We're looking at another budget cycle. And we're, I guess there's audits that take place. Make sure that she gets the support that she needs. Because I really don't want to have the friction that we had at the last budget cycle wasn't needed. And make sure that they get together with the other business managers and everybody talks, you know, it's really important that happen. And they can, when things go south, it's when things happen in a vacuum.
We met 5 times.
That's gonna have.
More times than any other budget cycle.
Really important.
Okay.
Okay, policy subcommittee, Dr. Herrera.
We're back on track now. We celebrated the policies that we passed, and we have a plan in place where everyone will see the rest of the policies that we have. Looking into that, and then we'll begin to accordingly, including the credit card one, which was requested by the board, etc. And that's the policy.
Okay, program subcommittee, you did have that big one.
Program, we looked at a program that would help potentially benefit our students academically and also career paths with emerging occupations, some that we have and some that we don't have for students. 3 areas of priorities is the healthcare, hospitality, and restaurant. So it lines up with those 2 programs in those sections that we implemented 2 years ago, and which is part of the problem of us trying now to find the appropriate space for that, along with construction and other emerging industry and trends.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to the next item, which is the nomination and election of a vice chairperson. Now, that would be somebody from Palisades School District this time, and currently we only have 2 members of Palisades board here. So we can still hold that vote. Okay. So could I get a motion to nominate?
Nominate Dr. Allen.
Okay. Is there any other nominations? Now, how would we typically do this vote?
Well, the partly depends.
If there's more than one nomination?
Then it's a different procedure. If there's only one nomination.
Okay, is there any other nominations for
Yes.
vice chair?
I'll make a nomination, Cool Landis.
Okay.
She already told me no.
Thanks for you.
Yes.
I heard it.
Well, she might be surprised if she comes back and she's the vice chair. That's what she gets for missing her first meeting.
I would move to close nomination.
Okay, can I get a second on that motion? Second. All right, any objections, any extensions? All in favor to close nominations?
Aye.
Aye.
The easiest way to do it when you have only 2 candidates and an odd number of people voting is for a roll call vote where each person who is called upon identifies the person who they are voting for by name.
Okay,
So it would either be Landis or I.
So the other question then comes up is, with Landis not being present.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Procedurally, okay.
And Dr. Otter, I hope he vote for himself.
I would assume Dr. Ott would vote for himself
And
after his.
and this is not a section 508 motion. The majority of the one.
Is any, yeah, did Diane?
I've been keeping an eye out, so unless she's 12677, she is not online.
I think 12677 was the one given.
That's what I
Earlier.
I assume.
Yeah.
I don't know who you muted.
It was 215 number.
Oh, okay.
And they're not unmuted.
Yeah, so if you are on, Diane, and you want to unmute, you can. Okay, so,
So Tracy's calling on.
okay,
Ms. Vance Clemens. Cor Landis. Mr. Cormack,
Ms. Landis.
Mr. Hallowell,
Dr. Ott.
Dr. Ott,
Myself.
Mr. Shermer,
Dr. Ott.
Ms. Bloomgren,
This man,
Mr. Shermer. I'm sorry, Mr. Spear.
Cora Landis,
4, 1, 2, 3. So you have 7.
okay? So, Ms. Landis, congratulations for your nomination for vice chairperson. I guess we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have, June minutes. We have the June regular meeting minutes from the 15th meeting. We have the June minutes from the 19th special meeting. We have June and July financial reports. July and August bills payable. Personnel recommendations, E. F is to approve Dr. Reinold of Tri-Valley Primary Care to be the UBCTS school physician at a rate of $375 for the entire school year. We have G to approve participation in cooperative bids listed for the July 1st, 2023 period to June 30th, 2024. The Upper Bucks Tech School participates in various competitive bids prepared by other agencies. The bids have all been approved for use by us and meet the local bidding requirements of Pennsylvania. There's a lot more listed there, but I believe. Do I have to read all of these? No, okay. We have H to approve the proposed agricultural technology, baking, auto collision, auto tech, cosmetology, culinary arts, dental, and vet assisting clinic fee schedules for the 2023-2024 school year. That is attached to the agenda. Approve the use of the rate stabilization funds for the 23-24 school year with Del Val Health Trust in the amount of $80,510. J to renew a one-year contract with Swift Reach for July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024 to provide power teacher messaging and unlimited messaging through Swift K-12. K to approve a contract with Pander Auction Services to perform auctioneer services Dr. Herrera talked about earlier. L to approve the designation of the equipment listed as obsolete and approval for its sale or disposal. And they're listed there. M to approve contracted services for a local social worker through Bucks County IU for the 2023 school year. Position to be paid through the PCCD Mental and Health and Safety and Security Grant awarded to the tech school. And to approve the revised 23-24 school calendar. And O to approve the revised motion from April 20th, 2023 to extend the 4-day summer work week
So moved.
for next week.
Wait, you can't move it yet.
Okay, can I get,
Hold on. You first have to ask if anybody gets a consent agenda, so if anybody wants one or more items removed from the consent agenda, they have the right to.
Yes. Okay, anyone would like any items removed from that consent agenda?
Mr. Howell.
Okay,
I would like to remove items H, I, and N.
H, I, and N. Anyone else?
So I'll make a motion to approve all but H, I, and N.
Okay. Can I get a second? To Ms. Clemens' motion?
Second.
All right, any objections or abstentions? Questions or comments? You don't like all
I don't like
those?
doing all these at once, specifically because I don't have any information. I don't have any supporting documentation on.
Wait, on
I
these
mean,
are the three.
First
We took
4
out
or
the
5
three.
I do,
Okay.
but the rest of them, I don't have an idea what the contract looks like. I have no idea what the contracts look like. And I'd like to have a little better idea of what equipment is doing. There's another contract.
Well, the equipment is listed.
Yeah. But it's not really, well, it's listed on the agenda, which didn't show up for yesterday, but.
It was available in drafts, correct?
You know, the equipment wasn't listed until yesterday.
Was listed.
So that's my objection. I will not disapprove the consent agenda, but my comment.
Okay.
Okay, I mean. Typically, in the sending districts, at least, I haven't. Viewed many of your meetings, because you have to call in and it's a hassle to do so at Palisades, but for the Penn Ridge and Quakertown meeting. They do usually approve these consent agendas in these large chunks like this and
I was
questions.
at the IU this week, and it was approved in that manner, but we did get supporting documentation on all the items.
Okay,
It's all in the same format. Yeah, we have it in the same exact format. You click on, it's exactly the same.
But I'm telling you, I didn't get the information beforehand.
In here.
It's in there on the day that we vote on it, yes, but it wasn't there the week before. Is everything in?
They're in the drafts, but you have to go down. The attachments are there.
so, yeah, and typically when I view, and I can't, speak to what you're saying is missing. Because I don't, have both versions in front of me, but when I viewed it ahead of time, now, and I will admit, I've been on vacation for the last 2 weeks. So my ahead of time was yesterday.
But
So-
sometimes we do adjust them, like if we're adjusting the personnel recommendations, things can change on there. You have to understand that things come up last minute, like they will come up yesterday. We'll get something that says, I need to retire. It has to go on there. We're still within our 24 hours, we'll put it on.
So,
My
okay,
experiences, I had a hard time finding it was there. I think I finally figured it out, but it's not easy.
Can we maybe schedule a session for Adrian to walk me through how to find drafts and Word docs before next meeting?
training session.
Okay. Oh, I was just thinking, cookies check.
Okay,
That's
is there any
correct.
other questions or comments for Ms. Vanis Clemens' motion?
It's from G, J, U, M, and O.
Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Now, do you want to go through these?
Do you want them individually or all three together?
I don't have fun voting individually. You have another discussion, right? You can take very long.
So can I make a motion for all three together?
Do them individually.
I gotta make a motion for item 8.
Wait, what were they? H?
H,
Yeah, I'll move to approve item eight.
A second.
Okay. Any questions or comments on item H?
The fee schedule, is it different? You think with you?
I believe there was a couple changes, but I'm going from memory.
There's changes on cosmetology. There are some changes on cosmetology.
And these fees will be listed where?
They're in there.
They're in here. They're on the agenda.
Where will they be,
After they're approved, they go on the website.
Yeah, they're not.
each program?
I will tell you, the eyebrows tweezing and waxing went from $2 to $4. Still seems like a good bargain to me.
Yeah, because I paid 10 at the salon.
Yeah, so some of these prices do still seem, at least for this cause that I'm looking at here, they seem pretty low. I haven't had my eyebrows done outside of.
I'm glad.
Yeah, but the prices do seem very reasonable.
$30 because my twins do.
No question.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments? All right, all in favor? Any objections, extensions? Motion passes. We'll go to item I, approve the use of the rate stabilization funds for the 23-24 school year with the Del Val Health Trust in the amount of $80,510.
So move.
I'll second.
Okay, comments?
How are you going to use it? It has to go back to the employees and the people, doesn't it?
This is actually something that I missed earlier. This should have been done when we redid the budget thing. Now it.
No, not that one. I know what you're thinking of.
This is the rate reduction that we get. It should have been 2 months ago, I think it was. It reduces the bill. So it's our rate stabilization. How do I explain it? It's a percentage
Do with the
discount.
self-insured thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a percentage that we get each month off. I noticed it with Tanya. Our first bill out in July, and I called and asked, and they said that we had to get a board motion to approve using the rate reduction. And I said, oh, that was supposed to be done.
You're thinking about different.
Yeah, we put that one back.
No, this is exactly what she described. It affects your, essentially the charge to the participating member for the coming year. It should have happened before the start of this new fiscal year. It's fine. We'll get it all, it'll get cleaned up with it.
I put a thing in my,
You have to
I put
give
in,
that to each employee.
no, it's off of our bill total. I have to make a note in May, to make sure it gets on the May agenda.
Now, to the extent that the premium is calculated as a percentage,
Mhm.
it indirectly does impact the employee, right? Because our overall premium is reduced by this 80,510.
Okay, so this came in at the beginning of the year. And it's calculated in already.
Yes, I just need to make sure you're okay that I'm taking the discount each month. As the board members say yes, I take that discount each month.
Okay.
It's divided over the months, but,
I'm okay.
Okay,
and I make a note to make sure I put it in May.
any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hands 7-0. The last item was N,
And
Yeah.
then Nancy, calendar,
the school calendar.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, any questions or comments on the school calendar?
What's it
October 9th,
as
Columbus Day.
a holiday?
It's going to be a locally designated holiday. We have found out apparently 3 of our sending districts either have an in-service or a staff holiday.
So
And it
all
must-
3 do.
Yeah, all 3 do now. It looks like somebody had changed maybe after some negotiations. And didn't really tell us. And we found out this week, so now we can't really be open with no students,
That's right.
so we have to change our time. I think.
Okay. I'm okay.
Okay.
You didn't answer right.
Well, it wasn't that.
All right, any other questions or
What?
comments
It was
on
you.
item N?
You probably voted on this change.
Did I not just tell you what happened?
All right, all in favor of the revised school calendar? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimous. Okay. Now we will recognize comments from the audience on any non-agenda items as well.
That's either 12158 numbers up down.
Okay, well, we have Mr. Lindy here, so we can go with him first. Come on up, Bob.
Right, you get to walk. I got a few. I went to the grocery store the other night with my wife and we wanted to pick up a couple of items and I looked at the checkout price and I said, that looks like a capital expenditure. I think we have to write a budget. You better follow the process. We didn't get dinner. I really enjoyed the presentation. Is there a written copy of what was said? I can forward it to you. Good. I didn't understand why the low scores were happening. Shouldn't the sending school analyze why the scores of the students are low? There must be something wrong with the school that are sending these kids out with low learning. Must be something wrong with the teachers. They, what do you want me to say? You're looking right at me. I'm looking at you because it's greater now.
Don't Palisades kids were low.
No,
They were all low.
I would like you to consider
I mean, one of our kids is thinking leaving because his scores are so high.
that. I know it's going
So here.
That's the Penridge way.
Maybe you ought to talk to Penridge. I'd like to see a library in each class where technical documents could be available to the students in that class. The subjects that in those documents would be pertaining to what they're learning. So if it's woodworking or carpentry or something like that. Instead of having a central library, you could have individual class libraries. And the teachers could man those regularly. That's my comment.
Great, thank you. Anybody else want to make a comment? By all means.
I just have a quick question. Why didn't you go back?
Yeah, so it's,
Health concern.
personnel, Mr. Matthias, in good terms and will be working with us in October 26th. And he has the best interest of the school to at heart. We'll continue to do that. I'm sorry that you heard this tonight, you know, the meeting, we know that you have a very close relationship with him, with the robot and NASA and all of that. And we'll continue to work with him. It's not like he'll continue to be here. He still has the students that are interest at heart, including making sure everyone has access to learning while we have to start the year off with those substances.
Okay. I mean, like, concerned about those things and also, the American base, I don't know if there's access to the software you do that.
Yes.
So,
Yes, yeah, we're in constant communication and we will, and he's still a part of the school. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else with any public comments? You said there was somebody online, but
No, not with a hand. It was like the same number that jumped in before. I want to hand numbers.
okay. Hearing no more requests for public comment, I'll move on to the announcements. The next regular JOC board meeting is scheduled for September 21st at 7 p.m. in this room. and also via Zoom. Is there any joint operating committee concerns? Hearing none, I would like to see if we can get a motion to adjourn.
I beat you this by like hair.
You can figure out which one made the motion in the second.
Jim get the second.
All in favor of adjourning the meeting? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you all. Oh. It's not. It's not, I guess.